The peace you're chasing is already inside you. We're conditioned to believe that peace, happiness, and purpose exist somewhere outside of us, that we need to achieve more, to learn more, to search harder, to finally feel whole. In this radio show, Wayne Dyer dismantles that belief, revealing that there is no separation between the spiritual and the physical, no division between you and the life you desire. Everything, your struggles, your doubts, even the things you wish weren't there, is part of the same source. The moment you stop labeling life as spiritual or ordinary and start seeing everything as connected, you step into the balance you've been searching for. You don't need to chase peace. It's been waiting for you all along. Special thanks to Hay House for partnering with me to release this content exclusively here on my YouTube channel. And if you make it all the way to the end of this video, leave a hashtag believe in the comments below so I can celebrate you in a future video. Believe.
Dr. Wayne Dyer, welcome to our program, or
Thank
your
you.
program, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing just great. Just got out of the ocean, and it's a beautiful morning on Maui.
As always on Maui. So what can you tell us this morning about how we can juggle our spirituality and our regular lives and make it all fit in together?
Well, I think the first thing that we have to do when we look at this idea of spiritual and physical is to no longer make a division between the two. I think that's the biggest mistake that is made in the whole community of people who are calling themselves, quote, spiritual people. That spirituality isn't something that is separate from the physical world. The great lesson that I have been experiencing in my entire lifetime, and particularly in the last 6 or 7 months since the 1st of January of this year, since I've been writing a book about living the Tao, the Tao Te Ching, is that the Tao, which is just another word for the source or for God or for spirit or for the great force that animates all of life and creates everything, is everywhere. And if you stop the dividing and carving it up and looking for it in one place and not in another, and begin to see it everywhere, in everything that you look at, balance will be immediately restored for yourself. See, most of us, we live in a world where we are constantly told that there's evil and that there's bad and that there's things that shouldn't be, and that there's all of these dichotomies and splits and things that the way that we just carve up the world. But the fact is that there's only one source, there's only one Tao, there's only one God, and this source is it's in a spider web, and it's even in the plastic. It's in the industrial waste that we create on our planet. It's in a tire. And it's in a bird, and it's in virtually every cloud and the ocean, and I could just go on for the next 6 hours trying to reiterate this point that spirituality is all, and it's everywhere, and there's no place that it is not. That's my mother calling me.
Oh, well.
And my mother's 90 years old, in her 91st year, so she can interrupt my radio show if she wants.
That's right. I'll cover for you for a minute while you talk to your mom.
No, it's gone. I turned it off. I'll get her back. But as she always says, she talks about she's so old. She said, she said when I was a young girl, she said the Dead Sea wasn't even sick yet. So that's her humor.
Oh,
and even her calling right now, there's something about that because she's a great reminder to me of the fact that spirit is everywhere. So first of all, stop dividing it up. Stop looking for assuming that it's someplace else. And right now, in this very moment, just gaze wherever you are, whatever room you're in, or if you're outdoors, if you're on a cell phone, if you're driving in your car, if you're in your living room or whatever, just look around, look out the window, and just begin to bless every single thing that you find in your life. This is the surest and the quickest and the most important way to get out of what some people call the rat race. I heard it referred to as they were describing this program here today, that there's this rat race. There's no rat race out there. That's just a term that we have invented because we don't know really how to go within and stay calm and find the peace that's within each and every one of us. There's no anxiety out there. There's no pressure out there. There's no depression out there. All of these things are something that we have created for ourselves in our lives, in our own minds. And when you begin to see God everywhere, and it's one of the things that I talk about when I talk a lot about manifesting and how to create things for yourself in your life. There's a story told of a little boy, and he was living in India, something like the 12th or the 13th century. And everywhere this little boy would go, he would just perform miracles. He was what they call an avatar. People would be healed just by being in his presence. And He was like living Christ consciousness. He didn't take on an ego when he came into this world. And everywhere he'd go, there'd be miracles around him. And there was such a calmness and a peacefulness about him. And all of the people gathered around him, and some of the elders in the tribe went to him and said, I'll give you, and they tried to bribe him. They said, I'll give you an orange if you can tell me where God is. And he stopped, and he looked at them, and he said, I'll give you 2 oranges if you can tell me where God isn't. The reasoning or the thinking behind what this great avatar was saying is that if God is everywhere, then God must be in you. And if God is everywhere and God is in you, God must also be in all of the things that you wish that you could have in your life, so that in some immeasurable, invisible way, you're already connected to every single thing in this universe through this thing that we call God, or the Tao, or the Spirit, or the Source, or the Divine Mind, so that it is in us and it's everywhere else. So we are connected, literally connected to everything that we want for ourselves in our life. And then what we do is we separate ourselves from that in our minds, and we begin to believe that we're something separate from that. And in the process of doing that, we get ourselves into this, quote, rat race. We begin to say to ourselves that we must have more. I don't have enough. I'm not as good as somebody else. I must be. And just this morning, I was writing on the 54th verse of the Tao. And the 54th verse of the Tao, Lao Tzu says that Tao is everywhere. It has become everything. To truly see it as it is. See it in a person, see it in the family, see it in the country, see it in the world. And this is the whole essence of all of it, that there is nothing for you to be divided from. And again, keep in mind that you came from a place of oneness. Oneness means that it can't be divided. We came into this world and we began to see dichotomies. We began to see what Lao Tzu called the 10,000 things. So we have ups and downs and rights and wrongs and males and females and yins and yangs and all of these dichotomies and divisions that we've created in our life. But the fact is that we came from a place that doesn't have anything like that, and we're going back to a place that is exactly like that. The effort, the goal, what I'm writing about right now and what I'm encouraging you here today on this radio show is to, while you're here in this world of yin and yang and of opposites and beginnings and ends, norths and souths, and all of these divisions, as long as you're in this world that is like that, make every effort in your mind to return to the oneness, return to the place where there are no divisions, and you're ultimately totally in balance, and you begin to see God everywhere, even in the kinds of things that are going on the planet, like right now. Right now, I get so distressed at the way that we divide things up and the way that we try to resolve problems, not only in our own lives, but politically and so on. With all of the conflicts that are raging all over the planet, we send our envoys over to the Middle East to try to resolve it. But already, before we go, we say, well, we're not going to talk to these people, and we're not going to talk to these because they are part of some kind of evil empire. And these people over here don't see life the way we do. Meanwhile, those are the people who are at war. Those are the people who are in these divisions and are killing each other. And we refuse to talk to them. We won't have anything to do with them. If we would just say, you know what? There's a lot of people who, with a lot of hatred for a lot of people out there in the world, let's bring them all to the same table. Even if we don't agree, let's find out what is going on inside of that other person that allows them to have so much hatred that they actually want to kill other people. And if we could do that and just think like that, think like the Tao, all of these conflicts that we have all over the planet would come to an immediate end. Now, bring that down to your own personal life and do the very same thing. Look at all of the conflicts, all the difficulties, all the struggles, all the things that you think are your problems, and begin to see the God within you and all of the people that you're in conflict with, or all of the things that you think are missing from your life. See yourself there. See yourself in them, and then begin to discuss it from that perspective. And before you know it, you've seen God everywhere. Okay?
Well, there you go. Wow, I was just, as you were talking specifically about the Middle East as well, I was thinking about how your personal behavior is what you are suggesting that we model in our interactions with the rest of the world. And I was thinking, that's a great show topic, Dr. Dyer.
It really is. Well, it's
I want you to talk about that in the future.
Because, I hear the Secretary of State saying we won't talk to these people. We've got problems in North Korea. We're not going to talk to them over there unless they agree to do this. We've got the Hezbollah and the Hamas over here, and they're the ones who we're not going to talk to the Syrians, and we're not going to talk to these people. We're not going to talk to... Meantime, though, that's where the conflict is. I remember when the Vietnam War was going on, they spent 3 months discussing, who was going to sit at the table and what shape the table was going to be in. Meantime, people were dying every single day. So it's getting ourselves back into the purity and seeing ourselves in everyone, even those people who we consider the most hateful and our enemies.
We have a whole lot of callers waiting to speak with you.
Great.
Okay, let's go now to Christina. She's in Akron, Ohio. Christina, welcome.
Hi, Dr. Dyer.
Hi, Christina. How are you?
I'm great. I want to thank you for writing a spiritual solution to every problem.
Oh, my pleasure. It was years ago. I wrote it in Assisi.
Yeah, I read that in 2001, and I had 16 years of sobriety at the time, and it just blew the door wide open. But I'm still having a hard time with this spiritual balance in the physical world. I work in the rooms of AA a lot, and sometimes I really make myself crazy.
In what way?
Oh, I don't know. It just seems like I take 2 steps forward and then go back. It's like you were saying, I need to just be quiet and get connected to the source and realize everything is one. And
you already are connected to the source, so you just have to stop the chatter inside of yourself that makes you believe that you're disconnected. But what is it about, you said the AA thing, what is it about that is troubling to you?
People look at me like I'm crazy. They look at me like...
Well, that's a big club. I'm in it too. So.
They want to know why I'm so happy all the time. They will turn away from me, get angry. It's very strange to try to communicate with people, and I study the big book of AA, and I try to help others learn how to stay clean and sober. But sometimes they look at me like I'm totally way out in left field somewhere. And I'm wondering if that's what makes me slip back into old thinking.
It's a very good thing to look at because, we talk about being out of balance. I mean, it's a big area to get into, this whole idea of being concerned about what other people think of you. But what I have learned in reading the Tao and doing all of this writing that I'm doing right now, because I write every single day right now. This whole year I've devoted to writing every day.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that Lao Tzu speaks about is that the great sages, the wisest people, the one who really live totally connected to God, to God and to the source, they speak very little, and they almost don't even notice what other people think about them. One of the things that they said of Lao Tzu when he wrote these 81 verses is that he just dictated them and then just left, and he just sort of disappeared because everybody out there in 500 BC in China thought that this man who was living so peacefully and so joyfully and so lovingly in harmony with nature and in harmony with God, everyone just wanted him to join the armies, and they wanted him to be a part of all of the conflicts and all of the struggles and all of the difficulties that were going on then and are still going on now. As I read what was happening 500 years BC, they were using horses then to kill each other and breeding horses. Today we just use rockets, but I mean, basically the world was the same at that time. And he was teaching us how to be independent of the good opinion of other people, how to be detached from whether or not people, whatever people are thinking about you, and to be a great sage is to be. It's almost like your best teachers. Do you have cats around you?
Yes, I have 3.
Do you? Well, I mean, they are Taoist masters. I mean, they are the greatest, the most spiritual beings, I think, on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And not just cats, but I mean, virtually. I mean, a spider, a beaver, a bird, whatever it might be. Anything that is totally in harmony with nature is in harmony with nature and isn't concerned about, I mean, there's no cat out there who sits around worrying about what all the other cats think of him or whether they think that he's crazy or whatever. And they do whatever it is that instinctively they know is about their catness.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't. You go around and saying, okay, who I am is this person, but I got this one over here who thinks that, and I got that one over there, and you're putting way, way too much energy on how other people are reacting to you, and it can bring you down.
So I just need to keep practicing.
Yeah, but I mean, here you are, what, how many years sober are you?
It'll be 20 this year.
And you're working with other people who are struggling with addictions, right?
Right.
I mean, you are God calling in on this radio station. I mean, you should be sitting around putting a halo around your head. I mean, you're doing the work of the angels. You are out there helping people who've lost their way. I'm just so proud to just be talking to someone who devotes their life. I have a really close friend. Her name is Lauren, and she just took a week of her vacation time in Florida to go to Denver to help her uncle who's had a stroke. And she called me this morning, and she said, I don't even know what I'm doing here. I can't do anything for him. And I said, Lauren, I said, sweetheart, I said, you are just your presence there. It's like I am so honored to be able to talk to someone who would give a week of their vacation to just sit there and be with another person who is struggling from a stroke. That's who you are. That's how I feel about you, and I want you to feel that way about you, too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
People do tell me that. It's just sometimes I don't absorb what they're saying. I don't know.
Well, you're hearing it from me, and I'm giving it to you right from Lao Tzu. That's 2,500 years ago. So, I mean, you've crossed over there. Okay. Give yourself a big pat on the back, beautiful lady.
Thank you, and I so love you. I saw you when you came here and did Power of Intention.
With in Akron, was it?
Yeah, with Dr. Gordon.
Oh my goodness, he was just here on my. What a beautiful man he is, Terry Gordon. He's a medical doctor and a cardiologist there.
Yeah, he took care of my dad briefly while his doctor was away, and
he's another one of these.
Yeah, it was really cool because we got to talk about the power of intention while he was in the hospital. So
yeah, he's another angel. He's a person who saw that young boys across the country were having, playing football. Like 5 or 6 times a year, there would be a young boy who would have a cardiac arrest in the middle of a football game. So he figured out a way to get these machines in every high school in the state of Ohio that would be there for emergency care. They've already saved like 15 or 20 lives because of his kind of vision. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that evening. It was a wonderful, wonderful evening in Akron.
Well, I'm just going to keep practicing these principles, all of them.
Okay. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you.
For a
God
beautiful
bless you
call.
too.
Thanks.
Thanks, Christina. All right, Dr. Dyer, we're going to go now to Fanita in Boston, Ohio. Fanita, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Boston, you're out of it. You're all mixed up. You're in the wrong state or the wrong city. Which is it?
This is Boston, Massachusetts. I'm Punita.
Oh, it's Boston, Massachusetts. Okay.
Forgive me, my screen is wrong.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It's an honor to talk to you, Dr. Dyer.
Likewise. Thank you.
I want to discuss about my excessive sleepiness, and I listened to your TV show that there's a spiritual solution for every problem, and I'm just wondering, forgive me, I'm a little nervous.
Oh, that's okay.
It seems like I'm sleepwalking through most of the days, and I want to do so much, and I'm so lucky to get most of the things that I want. Like, I'm in biotechnology, and I'm going to be a genetic counselor, and I got this beautiful course, and I'm starting it late August, and I'm worried because I'm going to do my graduate studies, and if I carry on being this sleepy and dazed most of the time, I'm going to have a hard time.
When you say sleepy, do you mean literally sleepy, or do you mean like figuratively you're sleepy?
I'm yawning.
You're sleepy. Okay, so you're physically tired.
Yes, I'm feeling like my brain is churning or working so slowly, and I'm fatigued.
It's very interesting, this whole sleep thing and fatigue, because I think a big part of the foundation of drowsiness and sleepiness is in our mind, because I think virtually all illness and struggles and so on that we have physically have a mental or spiritual component or aspect to them, and that's the part that I'd like to address. As I said, you might want to check for see if there's some kind of chemical imbalance in your body, or be checked out by physically. But I assume that you know that and probably have done that anyway.
My doctor had checked my thyroid and had talked to me about it, and she is still wondering. I'm planning to go to a sleep clinic, but I still want to hear your
my view of it is
I think God directed me to. I mean, I never get in any of these shows, and I tried the first ring. You came through, and
that's great, because there's a lot of callers calling in now too. Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. I think that when I'm just going to give you my own personal experience with this and so on, that when I am free of worry, when I am free of anxiety, when I'm free of putting pressure on myself to have to perform or to have to do things a certain way, and I'm just telling you what's coming through over the phone, just instinctively, what I'm hearing from you is a possessed person who is almost obsessed with your own excellence and having to do things at a certain level, and if you don't perform at a certain level, then you get very, very hard on yourself. I'm just guessing that. It isn't even a guess. I just know it. I can feel that. Is there any truth in that for you?
Yes. It is.
Okay. So, and it's about what, getting through the program that you've got coming up, and then the next program, and getting another degree, and how well am I going to do, and probably we're raised around, with lots of expectations for who you are and what you were supposed to do and how well you have to do. Now, if you can shed some of those things, you can get rid of some of those high expectations and move into, detach yourself from outcome and get yourself into process. And that means that you begin to find the joy in what it is that you are doing. And if you can't find the joy in what it is that you are doing, I mean the real joy where you feel internally, not because you've achieved something, not because you got a good grade on it, or because you got another diploma, or because you made a lot of money at it, or you got a promotion for it. Those are just external things. But the joy of actually doing it, like this morning I was sitting there writing on this subject that we're talking about here today, and I really almost wish I could just get this thing out and just read it to you. I don't like to read over the phone, but it was flowing so beautifully. It was so passionate, and there was nothing going on in there that I was saying, I hope this really sells, and I hope I make a lot of money off of this, and I hope the book gets on the bestseller list, and I hope people like it, and I hope I get really good reviews, and I hope nobody finds anything wrong with it. There was nothing like that. It was just, there was so much passionate, fulfilling, exciting, wonderful, loving appreciation for being able to have a mind and a space to be able to allow this beautiful teachings to come through me. That's what you've got to get to. How do you say your name?
Punita.
Punita. Where are you from?
India.
You're from India. I thought so. And lots of pressure from people, highly educated people from that background, aren't there?
That's true.
Lots of pressure to excel, to be the best, to be at the top. Almost every class has a valedictorian from India in it. Really hard-working people. I've had a lot of them in therapy. So it's that laugh that's coming out right now?
Yeah.
That's the joy I'm talking about in whatever it is that you are undertaking. Go to that. And you know what? Fatigue is going to be gone, and yawning is going to disappear. I guarantee you, if I took you out here today, and it was like, or let's say tomorrow morning, I got you up at 6 o'clock, and I said, Fonita, today you're going to learn how to jump out of an airplane. And I put you up on an airplane, and I stood you outside of it, and I told you, now, for the next hour, I'm going to give you instruction, and the next 3 hours, I'm going to show you a video, and then after that, you're going to be jumping out of a plane. I wouldn't see you yawning. You would be paying such close attention, and you'd be so involved, and you'd be so excited about doing this and making sure that the parachute is packed right. And you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, that's where you got to go. That's where you got to go with what you're doing. And let the universe take care of all the details about how well you're going to do and how much you're going to make and whether you're going to please your father, who probably, put a lot of pressure on you to excel and so on. That's my take on it. How does that sound?
That's great. I'm inspired.
Pardon?
I'm inspired.
Yeah, and I thought you said I'm not tired, but you know what? I'm not tired and inspired. They sound almost the same, don't they?
True.
They are the same. I'm not tired. I'm inspired. I like that. Thank you for that. And I love your laugh, and I'll bet you're so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vanita, for your call. All right, Dr. Dyer, let's go on now to Mary Anna. She's in West Palm Beach, dare I say, Ohio? No.
You got everybody in Ohio.
We're in Florida right now. Mariana, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Hi, Mariana. How are you?
I'm very good. I have a question for you today.
Okay.
My husband, he is a skeptic. He is very intellectual, and he needs to have an explanation for everything. He needs to see it to believe it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm very spiritual.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I know, I just know how it works. And he doesn't understand it. And he's always had this, almost like a black cloud on him. He always has a bad energy and, just tired, like the other caller, tired. But I try to explain to him, to be more spiritual and that way he will be happier in life, give gratitude and stuff.
Let me ask you something, Mariana. Why do you think you're married to him?
I am married to him. I don't know.
Why did you fall in love with this man?
I don't know, just him. And aside to those things, him as a person, he's just such a good person and so loving.
You have children?
Not yet. We've been trying to get pregnant, but I don't know why. For some reason, we can't.
Uh-huh.
I have to look into that in the doctors, actually, because we've been trying for a while.
How long?
Like 6 months.
Mm-hmm. I have that's not very long, but...
Oh, it's not. Well, I'm only 22, so I don't know. It's my first baby, I'm going to have, so...
Yeah. You know what I would do? I would stop trying and just allow and just enjoy. And stop trying to make a baby, but just enjoy making love.
Uh-huh.
And just like really take all of the again, the pressure, the emphasis on, this is off the subject a little bit, but maybe it's not. Taking all of the emphasis off of baby making and put all of your attention and all of your energy into just like completely immersing yourself joyfully in the experience of loving your husband. And then you know what? God will take care of the rest. You don't need a doctor yet. That's my guess. I don't think you need a doctor. Your baby's on.
Thank you.
Your baby's on its way.
We'll try that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a girl too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh.
Absolutely. Now, but I want to go back to this whole idea of why you're married to this man. I mean, he is decidedly skeptical. He's much more scientific. He's much more pragmatic, practical, right?
Yeah.
Wants to see, and you're much more. He's much more yang. You're much more yin. He's more of the. You got to show me. You're the more of a. I believe it. You've got the feminine energy.
It's funny because we say to each other that. We actually ask each other, why are we together? Because we're so different. But we always come to the conclusion that opposites attract. So that's what we always
stick around. So anyway,
I'm still thinking about the baby girl.
Are you? I even had a name flash across there like Angela or something. I don't know, or Angelina. I don't know. That was really strange. But anyway. Angel.
What is the name? What is the name?
It was Angel or Angelina or Angel.
Angel? Oh, my gosh. That's what I told Arthur.
That's what?
That's what I was trying to tell my husband, Arthur, that I wanted Angel.
Did you really?
Yes.
Well, it was flashing. I'm telling you, I'm going to take all of these psychics and put them all out of business. It's all starting to flash through.
Dr. Dyer, I have a whole new show for you if you keep doing this.
Well, anyway, she's on her way, baby. She's on her way, I promise.
Thank you. Thank you.
But again, creation is really not in our hands. I mean, every child that comes into this world, I have 8 children, and I even wrote in one of my books, Wisdom of the Ages, the last chapter, and I wrote about just this incredible miracle about it. My last daughter, Sage, who I was just talking to 2 minutes ago here on Maui. She's over here with us. She's 16 now. But once you've had like one of these kinds of experiences, you know that it's really not up to you anyway. So that's why I always say to everybody, just let go of the whole idea. If you're supposed to have children, they're coming. Even if you think you're not, you're going to do something about it. There's absolutely nothing that you can do to stop it. And if you're not supposed to, if God has other plans for you, then there's nothing that you can do either. You can in vitro yourself all day and all night, and it's not going to happen. I mean, this is all in the hands of God.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so once you really get that, and you get that, because you got to look at your own birth the same way and your own presence here on this planet the same way, and you look at your own death the same way as well, and then you begin to get really loosened up about all of it. Like the first 9 months of your life, from the moment you're conceived until you're born, you turn everything over to God. Everything. You don't worry about it. You don't get anxious about it. You just allow it all to happen. Then you show up, and then everybody around you says, "We'll take over." And once you start doing that, that's when you start having all the problems that we have in the world. It's taking over, telling God, "Well, we'll do it this way, and we're going to do that." And when you get back and just let go, and that's basically what I wanted to say to you about you and your husband. Is that, that it's been said that in every relationship, when 2 people agree on everything, then one of them is unnecessary. And everything that you find the opposite in your husband is what he has to teach you. And everything that he finds opposite in you is what you are teachers for each other. That's what a great partnership is about. That's what a spiritual partnership is really about. It's not about one person being in control and the other one being dominant and one being submissive, one being male, one being female. It's not about that. It's about being teachers for each other. We're all teachers to and for each other. And, instead of finding, fault with the fact that he doesn't see the world spiritually the way you do, look again at all that he has to teach you and just model what it is that, that you are. And you two will have the most blessed marriage you could ever imagine.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Call me up when Angelina or Angel comes in, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Bye-bye.
God bless you. Namaste.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, Mariana.
Hey, what do you think of that? Even got the name.
I know. Really, I'm going to have to change your whole show up now. Psychic Readings by Wayne Dyer. What do you think?
I'm going to call Sylvia and get rid of her, okay? Because I'm taking over.
Well, you know what? We're all one, right? You're the one who says that. So you're tapping right into Angel.
I love Sylvia. She knows that.
Yeah. All right, Dyer, we've got one more caller I think we can fit into the program. What do you say we go to another Wayne in San Francisco, California? Wayne, welcome to the program.
How you doing?
Hey.
Hey, Mr. Dyer.
How are you?
Very good.
What's your name, Wayne?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I watch you on Channel 9 here all the time.
KQED?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great place. Yeah, good.
I got a couple of questions about meditation.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and I read Manifest Your Destiny, and I have the 7 CD set that came. I got that also, and then I got Getting in the Gap.
Right.
Now, you talk about 2 different forms of meditation.
Right.
And, one is where you visualize, the energy coming up from your root chakra out through the third eye. Now, that's then Manifest Your Destiny. Now, Getting in the Gap's a little different, right?
It is.
Now, which do you think is better for manifesting?
Well, there's no better in it. It's just the reason I did the Getting in the Gap one was later because I had so much mail, so many people after we did the Japa meditation, which is a 1-hour meditation called Meditations for Manifesting, and it was taught. That meditation was taught, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years ago, literally by a man in India named Patanjali, who was teaching people how to manifest. And it came to me. It was a great teacher in India who told me how to do it and so on. But many, many questions about how to have an experience of what it means to be in the space between your thoughts. Because it is out of this space between our thoughts, it's like they say, it's the silence between the notes that makes the music. So that all music isn't really the sound, but it's the space between that allows the music to come. And the same thing is true of our own creation. In music, is you're just creating sound or you're creating a tune or a song or whatever. But in life, the whole creation process is really about getting into that space between your thoughts. And what is it like? And my friend Deepak Chopra actually was the one that first got me looking at this idea of having a thought. And I used a prayer that everybody knows about, the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven. So you take the word our and you put your attention on it. And then you take the word Father, and in your mind you put your attention on it. And then you just for a second, you go back to the space between those 2 words in your mind, and something happens in your body where you have an experience of being in the gap between those thoughts so that you are thoughtless. And
let me ask you, do you think that would be a better technique than the other one?
I think what it is, Wayne, is that it's a way to just sort of demonstrate to you. It's sort of like it reminds me of what Castaneda, when his teacher told him about using peyote and certain kinds of, drugs that would give them an experience of what another dimension looks like, and so that they would absolutely know that there are other dimensions that you can go into. And then he took the drugs away and said, now, because if you become dependent upon the drugs, then you just become another prisoner. You're living with counterfeit freedom. So that you take that away. So, and I think of Getting in the Gap as giving people an experience of, this is what it feels like to be there, and it's so blissful. And then use the japa meditation as a way of manifesting or attracting anything into your life, and that's why I combined them.
Oh, so you think doing both of them?
Oh, yeah. I think, even if you just take a few seconds or just one time around with the Lord's Prayer, even at 10 words.
Yeah, I do that one every morning.
Yeah, I do that.
The other one is where you visualize the energy coming up through your channel and out through the throat.
Right, yeah. And then you can begin to feel it coming up through your body. And there I try to teach people about why the inner mantra of God and is what manifests things into the universe. That's, again, a great teaching of Patanjali that goes way, way back. It's a very, very powerful meditation.
So you're saying I should do both those meditations?
Yeah, but you know what? The one in Getting in the Gap, once you get it, and once you know how to get into that gap between your thoughts, you can do it. You can almost do it instantaneously.
Really?
After you've been doing it a few years, yeah. Sometimes it's just a few days or a few weeks. It depends on the person. But now I can go in a quiet space. I could do it right now and just take that deep breath and go within, put my attention on that word our, and then put it on that word Father, and then go and slip myself into that gap. And even when I did it just then, in that second, I felt like a little tiny wave of energy just going through my body. And it's I just call it instant bliss. It's just...
What I'm looking for, though, is not instant bliss. I'm trying to learn how to manifest my desires.
Yeah. So then, but once you get into that blissful state, then you do the japa meditation, and you put what is it you want to manifest?
Oh, yeah. There's a girl I'm madly in love with. Put it that way.
Yeah, let her go.
Better career. Better, more money.
Let her go.
Let her go.
And remember this, what Nikos Kazantzakis said, when you passionately believe in that which doesn't exist, this is how you create it. You've got to have a belief and a knowing that it's already on its way,
right,
that the divinity and the love that you desire is on its way,
right,
and then you passionately have a knowing about this all day and all night. That's like you never let go of that knowing.
I have that.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's some doubt in there. And if you get rid of the doubt, and then you know what? Even if you're not physically together, I mean, it's like you're going to be in bliss all the time. In bliss all the time. For her, you know. And you watch, she'll come rolling into your life because you won't be able to resist it.
Really?
Okay, my friend, we got to go. I think we're closing out the show.
See you later.
Great to talk to another Wayne, my friend. God bless you.
And thanks for your call. Well, Dr. Dyer, thank you so much. It's been another wonderful and fast-moving hour, as usual.
Great.
And we will talk with you again next week.
Okay.
All right.
God bless you. Thanks. Have a great weekend, Summer.
Dr. Dyer, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you doing, Diane?
Very good. I must say you sound a little more energetic and, and up today, so that's great to hear.
Well, I had surgery, what they call, psychic surgery or spiritual surgery from this divine being who resides down in Abadania in southern Brazil. His name's John of God. Oprah, did a whole show on him, and some luminaries have gone down there, and I had a dear friend. Her name is Reina Piskova. She's a medical doctor. She's an eye surgeon in Madeira, California. And she really wanted me to go down to Brazil there with her. She felt compelled. She has some kind of a connection. She's from Bulgaria. And originally, she's American now, has 2 daughters and lives there in California and is a prominent surgeon. And she's been down there 2 or 3 times, and she really wanted me to go, but I didn't for some reason. I know why. I was writing, and I didn't want to leave my writing. But she went down, and she had photographs taken of me dressed in white with all different herbs that I was to be taking and so on. And John of God, I have a picture of him with her, and he had agreed to do the surgery. And I had, as I spoke about last week, I had just a profound experience of my body. She said I had to treat my body as if I had just come out of surgery, because I had, and I didn't need to be told much longer, because if you know me and you've heard me talk, I swim every day, I walk every day, I do yoga, I climb stairs, I lift weights. I mean, I try to stay in the best kind of shape, and I've been doing that for every day of my life since I was in my 20s or early 30s. And that's about 40 years or so. So to not be active, but it didn't make any difference. I couldn't do anything. I slept for something like 36 hours. I started to detoxify my body, and all of this happened as a result of that. Then a week later, which was Wednesday, after I had done the show, is what they call removing the sutures. And I had an experience that night, in the middle of the night. It took place at midnight. I had this special water that was there. I'd taken these special herbs and so on. And I was told that these entities would come and remove the sutures, and that I would begin the process of healing. Now I just, there's a part of me that is just still skeptical about those kinds of things. It's the ego part of me. My spirit says everything is possible. With God, all things are possible. This is John of God. And this man lives as God. I mean, he takes no money for anything that he does. He's available for any people that come from anywhere around the world. And people do. Like I say, Oprah did an entire hour show, went down there, and nobody has been able to find anything that is incorrect about it. A prominent Harvard surgeon was down there, just couldn't explain what was taking place medically and so on. So that night, last Wednesday night, about 11 o'clock at night, I went to bed. And I had just purchased a watch 2 days before, and it was actually quite an expensive watch that my daughter insisted that I get. It's called a Panerai, and it has a 10-day power supply on it, and it's supposed to be guaranteed to never lose a second. And I'd been wearing it about 5 or 6 days, and it was a beautiful watch. And it has it's an automatic watch, but it has a 10-day power supply on it. When I got up the next morning after the suture removal, my son and my daughter both looked at me and said, "What have you been doing in there? Were you doing drugs or something?" Because I had tiny, tiny little pupils in my eyes. My eyes were just all watering. And I looked at, a friend of mine called me at 8:25, and she said, "So how did it go? You were supposed to get up at 7. I said, "Well, it's only 5 after 7. And she said, no, it's 8:25. I'm at the airport, and I'm catching a flight over to Honolulu. I said, no, it's 7:05. I'm looking right at my watch. You must have it wrong. And I had lost an hour and 20 minutes during the night. This what my watch, this brand new, guaranteed, perfect watch, had just lost an hour and 20 minutes, 80 or 81 minutes. And I was just like befuddled by that how could that happen? And when I talked to Raina about it, she said the electromagnetic field of these healings and these teachings is so much more powerful than the electromagnetic field in your room, and you had the watch on you. It would have caused it to stop. Again, part of me says I understand that, but they've done a test on the electromagnetic field in Abadania down there in Brazil, and it's different than any place else in the world. I didn't think, again, too much about it, although the watch stopping and the way that I looked in the morning when my kids thought that I was sneaking away in my room doing drugs of some kind. And I felt so different. I just felt just so peaceful and so happy. And basically, Diane, I just felt just pure, complete love. I mean, there was nothing that I looked at that wasn't love. I mean, I would look at a tree, and I just wanted to embrace it. Every child, when I went for a walk, and it was the first day I had gone for a walk in 8 days because I had been doing nothing but resting, or 7 days. And this is like this overwhelming sense of love that I still feel right up to this moment, but it was very, very powerful at that. So about 2 days later, I reset the watch, and it kept perfect time and everything, and I set it on the counter, went for a swim, came back. Again, it lost exactly the same amount of time, an hour and 20 or 21 minutes. I did it twice. So I decided I was taking the watch back.
Wow, that's
and I went
incredible.
back to the jeweler, and they said, well, they've never heard of that. These Panerais are guaranteed, and it's like but they exchanged it. I got a different one, and actually I saved quite a bit of money because it was the one I got was also a Panerai, but it wasn't that 10-day power supply and so on. And I've been wearing this one. And I've also been back to the jeweler each day to see if anything happened to the watch, and it's now keeping perfect time again. But I called Raina Sunday. This is Monday. This was yesterday morning. She went, and she has a Mercedes car that she was going up into the mountains with her 2 daughters. They're looking for a place. And she left me a message and a picture of her clock on her car, and it had lost an hour and 21 minutes on her clock and her Mercedes. And she said, this is a clock that has never lost or gained a moment. So something very intriguing and bizarre had happened there, and I'm still in the process of sort of detoxing and experiencing that. And I'm writing this book, and all of this is happening while I'm writing it. And I've been talking about, I don't know if you've heard me talk about orbs. Have I talked about them here on the show? About these images that appear in photographs?
No, but I've seen that. I've experienced
Hay
that.
House has a book called Orbs. Mm-hmm. It's a fascinating book. And there's, I think, 69 or 70 photos in there. And I didn't even realize this because I had sent a copy of this book to Raina, because for the last 3 or 4 months, whenever I've spoken in these audiences, when I was more than that, since last summer in Australia, I was there in August, people would come up and show me photographs that they had taken of me while I was speaking, and these gigantic orbs, and then some of them, there'd be 20 of these orbs all around in the photograph, in some people's cameras. And on a few occasions when I was doing some therapy, there was one woman that was pretty grossly obese, about 350, 400 pounds. And I had put my arms around her, and I was looking into her face and explaining and talking to her about how she was going to change this and so on. And there's a huge, gigantic orb right in front of me. Then I spoke in Vancouver, and people took pictures of myself and my daughter singing this song, Let It Be. And these beautiful big orbs that look like they almost have faces in them have been appearing in photographs. So I've been intrigued by that, and I sent that book down to Raina, and 4 of the pictures that are in that book that I didn't even have any idea of this were from John of God when he was doing surgery down there and at Abadania and so on. That's, again, a book that if you're interested in it, or if you have photographs, and if anyone has taken photographs of me speaking and you see these orbs in there, I'd like to see them, because I've got about 6 or 7 of them, and I'm going to put them in this book because the chapter that I'm writing now is the last chapter of the book, and it's about opening yourself up to all possibilities and realizing that, there's nothing out there that is impossible. If you know that, it's like it says in the New Testament, with God, all things are possible. And of course, that leaves nothing out. And it's just intriguing that this is all coming at a time when I was going to tell 3 stories. One of the stories is the story of the orbs that have been taking place and how they just seem to be surrounding me now when I'm speaking, especially when I'm speaking about this new God consciousness, this new realization that God is within each and every one of us and that we are all pieces of God, in fact, that we are all God. And it's who we are. It's not these bodies, it's the spirit that we are. And as I've been speaking about that, suddenly, and these orbs never showed up before. So I was going to tell that story, and I was going to tell the story of going down and John of God and this invisible healing that is taking place and what has happened in my body, what seems to be happening. And also another woman, her name is Mira Kelly. She's an attorney, and she's in New York, and she came to Maui and did a past life regression with me. And I'm not going to talk about that this week, but perhaps in a future show. I'm going to talk about some of the things that happened when I was under and in this almost coma state. And she recorded it, and I have and she's another woman from Bulgaria. And also the book that I've been referring to a lot is from a Bulgarian transcendent master named Mikhail Ivanov. So 3 people from Bulgaria, and then I find out, Raina tells me that the word Bulgaria, the original word Bulgars, means not of this world, or not of here. So all of that has been taking place.
That is really amazing. That's so interesting. And I like that you said that you were skeptical, but you're open. It's so interesting that you're being taught through your experience, like you counsel so many people and you tell them, with God, all things are possible. And now it's really, things are really happening.
Well, for some reason, I have
amazing.
been assigned the task of taking very complicated things and in my whole lifetime in all of my professional writing and making them available, like self-actualization, when Maslow explained it to the masses, to the academics in the world with his Toward a Psychology of Being. It's almost as if he said to me, now you explain it to the cab drivers. He passed away on the very same day that I received my doctorate on the 17th of June in 1970. And quantum physics, this thing that I know something about, but not a lot. I'm not a physicist or that kind of a scientist, but I've been able to make that world of the subatomic world sort of accessible to people. And with spirituality in my books on taking St. Francis's work and making that available. And now with God realization and higher consciousness, it just seems that it's that these things, like with the watch and with Raina's clock and with these kinds of miracles that are just occurring where there's and Raina keeps saying to me over and over again, stop being surprised, just accept this. She said, this is real. I've been down there several times. I know, I've been with him. I've had surgery myself. And my continuous thing is, yes, but I need to be surprised because for some reason, when I get out there to speak about this and to write about this, I need to be able to overcome the skepticism that so many people are going to have as I speak about these things and how they are impacting my life in such a big way. Not for me and not for this ego and not for my body or whatever, but because these teachings, I think, really need to be promulgated. And that leads me into and I've always known that the kinds of experiences that I go through in my life, whether it's with my wife leaving, or whether it's with living in an orphanage as a child, whether it's with getting leukemia or having heart disease, when I shouldn't be having such a thing because of the lifestyle I lead and so on. And all of these kinds of things have been just almost the grist for the mill of the teaching that I'm here to do and to let the world know for some reason. And it leads me into the thing that I really wanted to speak just a few moments about before we take calls this morning, is that yesterday was really a historical day in American history, and it will go down the 1st of May as the day that Osama bin Laden was killed by our troops by the Navy SEALs in Pakistan. And when I was watching it, I was writing all day, and then I came in, and my daughter and my son, Sans and Serena, are here with me for a few weeks. Serena's writing her own book, and Sans is here to be with me. And they were talking about it, and they're watching the TV, and this celebration was going on and so on. And they said, Dad, don't look very happy. And I said, well, I'm not. I said, this is not a cause for celebration. And I sat them down and I said to them, look, I said, when I wrote the book, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, and I said, I didn't just write a book about the Tao Te Ching. I lived it for an entire year. I lived each one of those 81 verses, which is the same number of minutes that my clock stopped, and which in my past life regression, I was right there with Lao Tzu or as Lao Tzu. This number 81 just seems to be cropping up a lot, either 81 or 18, and both of those numbers mean one infinite source. 8 is infinity, 1 or 1-8, one infinite source. This number 18 in Yiddish, or in Hebrew rather, means life, Chaim. And you'll see that number appearing a lot in spiritual literature. And I said to them, I lived the Tao. I lived each one of those 81 verses, and I took out the Tao Te Ching, and I read to them a little bit of the 31st verse, which I want to share with the audience today, and why I don't consider this a cause for celebration. I understand it, but I think we're challenged spiritually with some of our principles, and there are two of them that I want to speak about here a bit this morning. One is out of the Tao, and in the Tao it says, weapons are the tools of, this is the 31st verse, weapons are the tools of violence. All decent men detest them. Therefore, followers of the Tao never use them. Arms serve evil. They are the tools of those who oppose wise rule. Use them only as a last resort. For peace and quiet are dearest to the decent man's heart, and to him even a victory is no cause for rejoicing. He who thinks triumph beautiful is one with a will to kill, and one with a will to kill shall never prevail upon this world. It is a good sign when man's higher nature comes forward, a bad sign when his lower nature comes forward. With the slaughter of multitudes, we have grief and sorrow. Every victory is a funeral. When you win a war, you celebrate by mourning. By mourning. And that's what I was doing. I was mourning because it shows that we still, as a people, we haven't figured out. Lao Tzu wrote those words 2,500 years ago. He lived in ancient China in the time of the warring states. And he was just so fed up with people killing each other and raiding villages and all of these kinds of things, which were a big part of that past life regression that Mira Kelly came and did with me. And when you remember when the World Trade Centers went down and 3,000 people were killed, and they showed pictures of people, in the Muslim people around the world celebrating, and we were just so outraged that how could anybody be cheering? And what we sometimes forget is that we used that experience of the World Trade Centers going down, which was a horrible experience. Of course it was. I knew people. There was a woman that I dearly loved who was on that plane that flew into the World Trade Center. But we used that experience as an excuse to go into a country that had nothing to do with it and bomb it and kill over 150,000 innocent people. Occupying this country and the endless deaths that and now they look at us on television, seeing everybody putting their faces in the mirror and going, USA, USA, and celebrating another death. And they think that we are the great Satan, just like we think that they are the great Satan. And, each of us have our own, shame about the kinds of things that we have done. And if you want to see how we got into that war in Iraq, watch a film that I watched the other night called Fair Game with Sean Penn and Naomi Watts. And it tells the story of exactly how we went into that country knowing they did not have weapons of mass destruction, yet we still decided to go in there and occupy and fight and drop bombs on villages and kill people after people after. As it says so brilliantly in the Tao Te Ching, every victory is a funeral. When you win a war, you celebrate by mourning. And my daughter was saying to me, well, what do you do? I said, well, all of these people that you see celebrating on television and looking into the cameras and being so happy, and the interviewers, and everybody is just so thrilled with this wonderful victory. I said, they call themselves Christians. And I just put this in my last chapter, in chapter 9 of my book, which will be out later this year or early next year, called Wishes Fulfilled. It's the words of Jesus, and it's from the book of Luke 6:32 to 36. Let me just share this with you, because when it comes time to practice what Jesus was really saying, in the hardest of times, We don't do that. We seek out revenge, and we seek out hatred, and we act from that place that Lao Tzu called the low people. It is one with a will to kill instead of a will to love and forgive. And in this passage from Luke, Jesus says, if you love those who love you, what virtue lies in that? Even the morally weak love those who love them. And if you are good to those who are good to you, what virtue lies in that? Even the morally weak do that. Love your enemies. Be good to them. Share with them without expecting anything in return. Then your reward will be rich, and you will be sons of the Most High. He is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be compassionate, like your Father. And Lao Tzu, 500 years, 600 years before that, said, the man of Tao is kind to the kind, and kind to the unkind. Because so kindness is his nature. And that's where we have to go. And that's why I believe these teachings are coming to me, and what is happening to me in my life right now is for me to have kindness as my nature, and to be kind not only to the kind and the ones who are nice to me, but to the unkind, to the evil, to the people who see us as the great Satan and we see them as the great Satan. Somehow, ultimately, we as a people, if we're going to survive, have to figure out what Jesus was speaking about, what Lao Tzu was speaking about, and to, at least if we take a victory, and I am not opposed to them going in and capturing Osama bin Laden, nor am I even opposed to the way that they did it. But the idea that this is a reason for celebration, to me, it's a reason for mourning. We have still demonstrated why Lao Tzu left the villages and left the walled city and went off on his oxen to live alone in nature, because he was just saying that war and using weapons is not what people of Tao do.
No, and we do have to move beyond that eye for an eye mentality. And something you said, I think it was on last week's show, a bad man is a good man's teacher.
Right.
And that stuck with me.
Right.
After I heard you say that. And yeah, I was down at the beach yesterday, and there was, people coming up to me, have you heard? And they're high-fiving me. And I was like, what? I didn't know what happened. So I looked on my phone and, and saw the news. And yeah, I mean, it just was kind of ringing a little hollow that there was all this celebration when, what now? Is there going to be more killings, even with him not being there,
Right. And there will be. And as long as we are doing these kinds of things, it's like if you understand violence, it's like the dandelions. Remember the dandelions when they used to grow up and all those fuzz balls that were on the top of them?
Sure.
If you go out there with violence and let's say you take the back of your shovel and you just start slapping them and hitting them harder and harder and harder, what happens is in the spring you have way, way, way more of the dandelions growing. Because when you use violence, you just promote more of that. But when you gently go through and remove them, you remove that. And that's what we need to do. Okay. I just wanted to say that. So after the break.
A lot going on.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we'll go to calls. Some great people lined up here waiting to speak with you. I'm so glad you mentioned what you spoke about today. Very, very powerful. Dr. Dyer, just, listening to what you were saying in the last segment and kind of thinking about that over the break, just, we really are on the cusp or a shift of a major transition, just everything that's been going on over the past few months, and then now this latest thing with Osama bin Laden. It's really an amazing time to be on the planet right now, I think.
It is. There's 6 or 7 billion of us, and we're divided just like we are in Congress between the Republicans and the Democrats, where we can't figure out a way to get anything done because all we do is just carp at each other and try to make the other person look bad and make themselves look right. And on the planet, we've got this major divide as well, and we really. If we don't figure it out, in my estimation, if we don't figure it out, then life on this planet just simply will not be allowed to flourish any longer. It will end. Mm-hmm. It will be The Road, if you've seen The Road, Cormac McCarthy's great book, which was one of the most intriguing things I ever read about what the world would look like after a nuclear holocaust. We must figure this out, that the answer still is in love, not in celebrating other people's demise. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Well, we've got some great callers stacked up here from all over the place. Really interesting calls today.
Yeah.
So let's start off in Hong Kong, which seems like an interesting place to go. Anita on line 2.
Oh, my goodness. I think I know who this is.
You do?
Is this Anita?
Yes, it is. I couldn't resist calling you.
This is another miracle. This is Anita M., the woman I've talked about on this show so many times, who's now going to become a Hay House author, who had her near-death experience. I listened to your radio interview there. Oh, my goodness. You were sent to me by Mira Kelly, the one I just talked about, who did the past life regret. Oh, my God. How are you?
Wow. I'm very well. I can't believe I'm talking to you. I'm thrilled.
I am. I just love you, and what you did on that near-death experience. I am. You're signed with Hay House now. Is that right? You're going to become a Hay House author.
Yes. Yes,
oh,
I am,
I'm
and
so
I'm
thrilled.
so happy. I'm
going to write the foreword to your book if you would like me to do that, and
I would love it.
And I want to bring you to America and put you on my public television special, so that you can tell the world about what happened when you had 36 hours to live and were told that you had lymphoma all throughout your body and you had this experience. Tell my audience, I'm so honored to have you here. Tell my audience a little bit about what happened with that experience. It just blows me away. I'm just sitting here. This is like a miracle of miracles. Even that Diane would take your call. I didn't know you were on the line, Diane. You just picked up. You've heard me speak about this.
No,
woman.
and it's funny when you recognized the caller. I just saw Anita from Hong Kong, and I just thought it would be cool to go to Hong Kong. That's great.
Oh, my goodness. Anita, I think I might take the rest of the show with this, or at least another 10 minutes or so. Tell my audience what happened and what your experience was. You said it so beautifully in what you had wrote about. I can't wait to see your book. I'm so happy about this.
Oh, thank you. I'm really thrilled to speak to you. Well, what happened to me was that I had cancer. I had lymphoma, which spread throughout my body, and it spread like from the base of my skull, all over the lymph nodes, all over my neck and my body, under my arms, everywhere, all the way down to my abdomen, were all swollen. In fact, I had tumors. I was told that I had tumors the size of lemons all through my body. And I had cancer for about 3 years and 8 months. It seemed to go up and down in between because I was practicing Ayurveda, and then it would get better, but then it would come back. Especially, I notice now, looking back at the pattern, that when I used to be really, really fearful, that's when my health would get weaker. But about in the end of 2005, around December 2005, I went and had a full body scan, and the doctor told my husband, they didn't tell me, but the doctor told my husband that I only had about 3 months at best at that time. Mm-hmm. By that point, my muscles had already deteriorated. I was confined to a wheelchair, and I had open skin lesions. And by February the 2nd, 2006, I was on oxygen. I had an oxygen tank, and I was being cared for at home by a full-time nurse. But on February the 2nd, the morning of February the 2nd, 2006, I went into a coma. So my husband, he was freaking out, and he called the doctor, and the doctor said to rush me to the hospital right away. When I got to the hospital, the doctors said that it was over, that it was too late, that these were my final hours, and I probably wouldn't come out of the coma at all. And that was when I... Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. No, you speak so eloquently. I don't even want to interfere. But you died. I mean, you essentially went into what we call an NDE, but your body just shut down, and you were. And while you were in the coma, you were hearing things and seeing things. Tell my audience about this.
Yes, I could hear and see everything that was going on around me, because the doctors had told my family that my organs had already shut down, and basically I had died. And they said, although my heart was still beating, but I had died, that there was nobody in there. But I was aware of everything that was going on around me, everything that the doctors were saying, everything that they were doing, the needles that they were poking into me. They were telling my husband that I had fluid in the lungs, and they said that. And then even though, I was like in a coma, my breathing was quite labored and I was on oxygen, so the doctor even stuck a needle into my back to remove some fluid. And I remember every single thing, and including I became aware of things beyond my body. I was aware of my brother getting on a plane who was just coming to see me, and I then started to become aware of my father, who had passed away 10 years before that. I was aware that he was around me. My best friend, who I'd lost to cancer, she was there, and I could sense that they had been around me this whole time while I was ill. And then I started to understand. I started to understand why I had the cancer, and I started to understand that it wasn't my time. And I had a choice of whether I wanted to come back into my body or to continue into death. At first, I didn't want to come back into my body because my body was just so sick. And it was so amazing on the other side. There are no words to describe it. And I still get a bit tearful when I think about it because there's just no words to describe it. It's like this unconditional love and you feel this clarity of like why you're here, what your purpose is, why you've come into this planet. That's how I felt. I felt like I just understood everything, my purpose for this life, why I got the cancer. And then I seemed to understand that if I chose to go back to my body, now that I understood, then I wouldn't have the cancer anymore. If I chose to go back and live, the cancer wouldn't be there in my body because now I understood why I even had the cancer.
Yes. You said something about that you realize that not only do we have a physical body, but we have like an energy body or a spiritual body, and that the illnesses that show up in our bodies are preceded by these. And if we could heal this energy body or the spiritual body, if we could heal that, then that would take care of the physical body. And that there was a sense that that you knew that you could do this, and when you returned to your body, that it would no longer have cancer. Something to that effect. Is that correct?
Yes, that's exactly correct, because I became fully aware when I was on the other side that the cancer in the body, it's not the body, the cancer is actually caused because energetically, we don't realize the amazing magnificence of who we truly are, or at least I didn't realize who I truly am. Basically, I am a part of God, and we all are. We are all God, but I didn't realize it. I was going through the planet as if I wasn't, as if I was just this physical human being. But when I realized what I had access to, when I realized the energy, the power that was behind me, I realized that it was just blocking that, and not being aware of that or blocking that off is what can cause your body to manifest all kinds of things. But the awareness of who I truly am, if I'm aware of that, then my body will also reflect that. Illness doesn't start at the body.
Go ahead.
Yes. I was just going to say that illness doesn't start at the physical body. It starts at a much deeper level. And that's the only level we need to work with, because if we just work with the physical body, we're only dealing with the symptoms. And the physical body is just sending us signals or messages with these symptoms to tell us that there's something deeper going on that we have to work with.
You said something very profound in that. I mean, that thing that you sent me, I've had it copied, maybe 50 times. Each one of my children has it. And I've talked about it on this show. I quoted it in my book. I mean, words that you just used, I've already put directly into the book and quoted you from it. But you said that one of the interviewers asked you about past lives, and you said that it didn't seem like there was any past, that there was any.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what that was like, that experience of no time? And that was, I think you used the word parallel lives rather than past lives.
Yes, I was brought up to believe in past lives and reincarnation because my parents are Hindu, and that's what I was brought up to believe. But when I was in the other realm, and it seemed as though everything was happening simultaneously, I was aware of other lives with my brother and with my husband. and my husband and I are very close, but it didn't seem like past lives. It seemed as though it was happening simultaneously, but it seemed like everything was happening simultaneously. So when I came back into my body and I started to recall and started to talk about it, it was very difficult putting things into sequence, because it felt as though when we're on the other side, there's no time, or time is not linear. It's like everything's happening at the same time, including what we call past lives. It's as though while we're expressing here through our physical bodies, we put things into linear time with our minds. Our minds need to do that so that we can understand, and it makes things more coherent or manageable for us. Our mind filters things, and we actually process everything one point of time at a time and create linear time. But on the other side, it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels as though everything's happening at once, and even it's as though we are aware of everything that's happening all around us. It's not like you turn your head when you're in your physical body and you look at something and you can focus on something. It's not like that. It's like you're aware of everything that's happening around you at all time and all around you.
And what role does love play in this? Did you hear me speak the first half hour of the show? Were you listening?
Yes, and I completely agree with you. You know, it's interesting because even when I heard that Osama bin Laden had been killed, I was thinking something very, very similar. I was thinking that the world is rejoicing, but I'm not sure it's something to rejoice about, because all we did is perpetuate more killing. And that's what I was thinking.
Really? And you said something like, when you came back, that the great lesson that you learned from this experience, and then we'll talk about your healing, was to treasure your own magnificence. And the magnificent, those were your words, to treasure your magnificence and to realize that you are pure, pure love. Did you feel that when you were like experiencing, like the doctors, for example? I remember you saying you could hear the doctors actually talking about, you know, that you weren't going to survive this and all this. You could literally, but you felt love for them rather than disdain or worry or anger or...
Yes, I felt love for everyone, even every single doctor, everybody. I just, somehow it was like I became them. It was like I understood that they were all doing, it's not a feeling, it's like I became one with them, and I could feel what they were feeling. They were feeling they had to do something, and they were doing what they knew best how to do, and their intention was good. It's like suddenly you can feel everybody's intention, not what they're actually doing, not the end result, but their intention. And I could feel what everyone was feeling, every nurse that came in, everything. Everything, when I came out of it, everything just looked so beautiful. It was like I was viewing the world and viewing everybody for the first time.
That's what I've been talking about, and it's happened for me in the last, I don't know, the last 6 months, 8 months or so. There's nothing that I can look at. I can look at the wall and just love the wall. I mean, I can look at a vacuum cleaner and love a vacuum cleaner. It's just such an amazing... Do you know who John of God is? Have you heard of John of God down in Brazil?
I hadn't until you spoke about him. This is the first I've heard of him, and he sounds amazing.
Yes, it's the same kind of thing. How long were you in the coma? How long were you, quote, in that NDE, or literally dead?
About 20 hours. It was overnight. I went into the hospital one morning on February the 2nd and started to come out of it the next morning on February the 3rd.
And you had been told that you had, your husband had been told that you had maybe another day or so at the very most. Is that correct?
At the most, yeah. The doctors said that I wouldn't even make it through the night because my organs had now shut down, and this was the final stages. And so and it's written in my medical file as well that they've informed the family that this is the end.
Okay. So there were, like, literally, to use there were billions and billions of cancer cells in your body, and it was shutting down. All right, and then you awoke, and tell us then, you know, in the last 5 minutes, so what happened after that? And what's going on now? Why are you talking to us now? Why are you alive? Well, I know
Well,
one of the
the thing
reasons
is-
you're alive is because your story is aligned with me. You are so aligned with me. I really feel like I know you. I don't know if you even know who I am or what I had done, any of my work before this.
I do. I'm a fan of yours. It's funny because I do know who you are. I think you're amazing. I was thrilled when I got the email. I feel that, this is my purpose was probably to meet you because what happened is that it was my birthday 6 weeks ago. And on my birthday day is when I got the email from Hay House saying that you had pointed them to my story. And when I looked at that email and it said that, if I was to publish a book, that Hay House wanted to help me. And I looked at the email and I started crying. And I couldn't believe it. I'm still thrilled I'm talking to you.
While I was reading that, I thought this is a story that the world has to know. I predict that you're, it's not as about selling books. It's not about that. It's that you are going to be one of the emissaries, like I think I have been selected to really show the world that, you know what, I sent your story to my mother. My mother is 95 years old on April the 21st. And I sent that to her, and she thinks about death a lot because she's in an assisted living center where she sees people, they're alive one day and they're not the next, and she wonders about it. We talk about it. I sent her that. She has had nothing but peace since she read that. My sister-in-law, who had a similar experience to you in 1971, was in a head-on collision and watched them working on her body. She just said this confirms everything that had happened to her. You have helped so many people just through me. But what your message is going to be to this world is we have to love each other. And when we do, that's really what it means to live God consciousness. It doesn't mean to recite the right words and go to church on Sunday.
No.
It's to live it. So you came back, because our time is going to be running out soon. You came back, you awoke, and what happened? Tell us.
Well, when I came back, I was euphoric because it's like I had this awakening, although I was a bit groggy, and for the first couple of days, it was like I had one foot on each side. I was getting things confused. I was talking, and everyone was really surprised that I even woke up. And when the doctor came in to see me, this was the oncologist that I'd never seen before. My own doctor hadn't come in yet. And the doctor came in. This was the one at the hospital who'd never seen me before, except when I entered as a coma. And he walked in, and I said to him, "Good morning, Dr. Chan." And he said to me, "How do you know my name?" And I said, "Aren't you the one that was there when I entered the hospital?" And he said, "Yes, but you've been in a coma." And I said, "Are you sure?" Now, I didn't even realize I'd been in a coma because I was so aware of everything that was going on around me. And I said, "But you're the one that put the needle in my back and took the fluid out of my lungs." And he said, "You remember all that?" He was visibly very, very surprised. And, and then he was also surprised that I had come out of the coma. So, but I was still weak and lying down. And so then when he left the room, I started to say to my family, like, why was he so surprised? And he's the one that said to you, he said, then I said to my husband, he's the one that said to you that these are my last hours, that I'm not going to make it through the night. Isn't he the one that said that? And my husband said, how did you even hear that? He didn't even say that in front of you. He said it outside the room, down the corridor. And I said, really? And so then it all started to come out slowly. And I was still very, very weak, but in about 48 hours or so, they were like removing the oxygen, and then they started to take out the food tube, and I wanted to sit up, and I was feeling really euphoric because if I describe the feeling specifically, it's deeper than just loving everything. It's realizing that you are love, and for me, it was like a new realization. I'd never known that before. I used to think that I had to learn to be loving to other people and would always judge myself. Am I loving enough? Am I not loving enough? But being in that experience, what I realized is that I am love. I cannot not be.
I quoted I quoted that in my new book. Those the words that you just said. So, in 6 months or so, what happened? I mean, were you cancer free? How did the doctors explain it?
Yes. Well, what they did was that after I came out of the NDE, every test that they did after the NDE, they could not find any trace of cancer. They would not believe there was no cancer, so they continued to give me drugs. But they did a lymph
And where are you,
biopsy.
Anita? I just got to notice. We just have a minute left. Where are you today? Is your body cancer free?
Yes, it is. It's completely cancer free.
You know, I'm doing. I don't know if you've heard or look on the website. I'm taking a group of people to Lourdes, Assisi, and Medjugorje. If there's any possibility that you and your husband could get on that trip, it's June 19th to the 29th. I'd love you to be on it. I have to close out. I'm so sorry. This has been the greatest show I've done in 5 years. Thank you for calling. I can't wait to meet you and write your forward and have you on my PBS show and tell the world about you. I love you.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us for the show Wishes Fulfilled with Dr. Wayne Dyer. And we just opened up the phone lines, and Dr. Wayne Dyer is joining us from Maui after a very busy couple of weeks.
Let's grab somebody.
So let's start in Portland and go to Jeannie on line 1, and she's in Portland, Oregon.
Hi, Jeannie.
Hello. Oh,
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you, my dear?
I am good. Thank you for taking my call.
You're very welcome.
So I'm in the middle of writing a book, and I guess genre-wise, it's kind of a wellness memoir. And it started out, I was going to write a whole different book really about listening to your intuition, and it still is hugely about that and following it and letting, that inner guidance from above, let that lead your life and how it brings you through life. And, a lot of what you basically, I think, teach, but through my story. And, when I was young, I was like 17 when I started writing letters to God. And each time I wrote, I felt so much better. And then I would take them and just immediately go burn them in the fireplace. And when I was 25, my brother died. And I actually bought a hardcover book and started writing in that and just couldn't bear to throw what I'd written away. So now, 27 years later and 41 journals later, I'm writing this. And I did go down to Hay House and take their workshop. And Jennifer Grace, who I think you might know, is doing a book proposal class. I'm doing that, and I'm following what she's saying to do to get this book proposal done. And it's just, what little gist of the story is, I was married for 26 years, had a really beautiful life. We were kind of the nucleus of our family, our friends, nieces, nephews. And then my husband went in and had an affair with a 27-year-old girl, which was our oldest daughter's age. So we were just broken apart. And if you can imagine a spider web, we were the center. Now there's all this brokenness, and as I'm going and reading through my journals to write my book, because I've actually have a beautiful life now, and it's been 2 years since my divorce, almost to today, I think, which is weird. And I have a really beautiful life, but everyone else, I feel like it's my family, my nieces, my nephews, friends, they're all still back in, they're trying to wrap their head around what even happened in the first place, and there's still all this brokenness, and it's almost like I'm at this point of writing where I need a little release somehow. And I don't know if you ever wrote something that you're going back and reading and having a lot of awareness and writing it, and it's hard to write. How do you push yourself forward through that? And
I think the way to do that, Jeannie, is to see this 27-year-old person that your husband had an affair with as a gift from God, as a teacher. I did a film called My Greatest Teacher, which was really the story of my relationship and trying to find my father. And it turns out that what he did when I was a young boy and all of his horrible, crass behavior and so on were really the impetus for my being able to reach to higher and higher levels. And while you're reviewing that and looking at that in your writing and so on, instead of coming at it from a place of brokenness, come at it from a place of completeness, and realize that she was sent into your life probably to help you to first of all get to that place of freedom that you feel now, as a result of it. And secondly, to help you to look back upon it as you write about it, not from a place of oh, this is terrible and it shouldn't have happened, which is what so many of your family members are doing, but from a place of gratitude, of being in a space of gratitude, and write from that place of gratitude, and allow the divine guidance that brings to you, to come to you and to flow through you. And you'll watch your writing. You'll watch it. Because when I wrote, I can see clearly now, and I really encourage you to read that when it comes out.
Yes, I keep wanting to hear it and read it.
Especially in terms of what you are asking me about right now, because I did a lot of reliving as I went through that. And I began to write first I started to write from that place of the pain and the hurtfulness, like when my wife and I separated, or when I found out I had leukemia, or when I was living in an orphanage, and all of the kinds of things that have been benchmarks in my life. And I would find myself just feeling much more spiritual, much more peaceful when I looked at it as gifts rather than.
So going back to the phones, let's see, where should we go? Let's go to Kelly in Kansas City, Missouri on line 3. And Kelly, welcome to the show. You're on with Dr. Wayne Dyer today.
Hello. Thank you.
Hi, Kelly.
Oh.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks.
Well, I just had a question. I know you've talked about your father and how you forgave him. I've heard the story many times that you told it. What I'm wondering is, I've been to that place actually it's with my husband. And, just things from the past. Okay, we need to get over it, and I really feel like I've forgiven and it's over and let's move on. And then something will happen maybe a few weeks later. He has a very bad temper sometimes, so, that will come on again. And, the past 15 years of everything that I thought I forgave is all right back in my face. And I just so angry, and he can just really be very sweet and nice and then turn on a dime. And just my children are starting to be affected by it. My oldest child is, to the point where she doesn't even want to be around him. And it's a lot of anger in the house. So.
Yeah. Is there alcohol at all involved?
No, not really. No. I mean, actually, no, not at all. Every once in a while, he'll drink, but nothing, no.
But
not alcohol.
This temper thing, was it when you first met, before you were even married, and when you were, in that early stage of, what did you ever see that surface?
Actually, when I look back, yes. I mean, it's always been like this, and I think I had such low self-esteem that I just took it, and I've kind of gotten over that, worked on myself, and it's not quite as, it seems like it has dissipated, but it's a lot of times has now turned on my oldest daughter. So now I know exactly how she feels. I mean, she loves him, but in another way, she just hates him.
Does it ever go beyond just words?
Yeah, not really too physical, but just like pushing maybe once or twice. But just it can be very, very mean. And just even when he's not really angry, just little jabs and just... real quickly, what was his relationship, in a sentence or two, what was his relationship like to his father? His father, he really got along good up until recently, and now they still get along, but he drives him crazy. Pretty much everybody drives him crazy. But yeah, his father was, the way he describes him was nothing, very easygoing, like happy, and... Now, there was some alcohol involved with that, but very happy kind of a person.
Right. Okay. So what you're looking for, we only have a few minutes, so it's like what you're looking for is a way to deal with and live with someone who's got a bit of, bipolar is too strong a word because it sounds too technical and too diagnostic and so on, but basically that's what you're talking about. Someone who can just be on an even keel, can be up, can be happy and so on, and then something can trigger it and off he can go. And for some reason, he has come to believe that he has the right to abuse the people around him, especially the people that love him and care the most about him. Is that correct?
That is very correct, yes.
And he can do that with words and just an occasional pushing and so on, but just launch into one of those kinds of things. So what you need to understand is something I wrote about in my second book for the public, many years, called Pulling Your Own Strings, which I would recommend you read, by the way. It's called Pulling Your Own Strings. And basically my theory on all of this is that you get treated in life the way you teach people to treat you. So that rather than putting it on him, because if you're waiting for him to change in order for you to be happy, you might just be consigning yourself to the role of victim for the rest of your life. Right. So what you want to do is stop teaching him that it's okay for him to, even if he has his, all the reasons within him, and to be able to, this person is wrong. His own father drives him crazy. His daughter drives him crazy. You drive him crazy, whatever it might be. And he thinks that it's somebody else that is doing all of this to him. He is basically just reacting that way, because I guarantee you that he wouldn't, if I were at your home and a guest in your home, he wouldn't do that to me. He wouldn't yell at me. No. There are lots and lots of places where he absolutely knows how to control himself when he's frustrated. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't do that at work, or not very often, because he wouldn't be at work if he did. So he really has within him the tools to know how to suppress that and to just overlook it. But when it comes to certain people, he just has given himself the right to do that. And the only reason he's got the right to do that is because you've given him permission to do it, for whatever reason, in whatever form that you've given that permission. I know you don't want it. I know that it's not something that you're looking for, but you have taught him that you're willing to treat. So what you want to do is embark on a program to teach him that kind of behavior is no longer tolerable in your life, that you've taught him that you're willing to put up with that in whatever way that you have done it over the years, and same with your daughter, and same with your father-in-law. But now what you're going to do is teach him something new, so that when the next time that he does this and has one of these outbursts and so on, I would talk about it with him when he's not in one of those places, Right. When you're having dinner or whatever, and just say that I have decided that I'm not going to, when you have one of those emotional breakdowns and so on, and start yelling at either me or our children or whomever, that I'm not going to put up with that anymore. It causes me too much pain. And I just want you to know that what I'm going to do is, when I see it surfacing, is I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave the premises. No matter how inconvenient it is, no matter what it is, I'm going to not stay in the presence and allow you to do that. And I'm going to also tell our daughter that that's what she's going to do as well. And even when you see it just beginning to surface, you stand up and you just say, excuse me, I'm just not going to be here right now. And you leave. You lock yourself in the bathroom. You go to the car. You go, drive yourself someplace. You walk out of the house. Whatever it may be, no matter how embarrassing it may be, now you're going to fundamentally change the way that you teach this man to treat you. Ultimately, if he, gets even worse, then you just say, okay, I just don't choose to live under these conditions any longer. And I'm going to get divorced, or I'm going to separate. I'm no longer willing to be the victim of a person who knows how to control these things under certain circumstances, but chooses not to when he's with me and our family. It's a choice that he is making, not that he got a personality defect that he can't control. Unless he's just going around doing this to strangers and things like that. It doesn't sound like that's the
he's
situation.
Completely the opposite with other people.
Yeah.
Other people
Right.
that know him wouldn't believe that in a minute. They'd think he's the greatest, nicest guy.
And I might even play this back to him. Because you can go online and this will play all week, this show, and you might even play it for him. This is like I called in, nobody knows your name or anything, and this was the question I had, and this was the response, and I'm going to try, and this is what I'm going to do. Does that sound sensible to you, or something that you could do, or?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it's almost like I needed somebody to say it because it's kind of what I was thinking in the back of my mind.
Right.
Like, I can't just sit here and
and listen and do this.
I raised my children this way. I always told them if they would raise their voice, if they'd get frustrated, they'd yell at their mother, they'd yell at me, or whatever it might be. And children do these things, and teenagers do these things, and so on. And if they would ever direct those kinds of comments towards me, I would just put up my hand and I'd say, wait a minute, hold it right there. I have too much respect for myself to allow anybody to talk to me in that fashion. It isn't because I think you're so bad. It's just like this is such an affront to who I am that I'm no longer going to allow this to do. And when I would raise my and put my hand up to like put a stop to that, it would stop. They no, Dad doesn't put up with this because he respects himself. Right. Now, Mom has got to respect herself enough to be willing to do this because, you know, it's ultimately going to lead down an even worse road. It's going to, as long as he knows that he can get away with this and you're going to stick around, it'll continue.
Right.
And you can do this very nicely and very quickly. When he starts behaving that way, you just get up, you go get in the car, drive, go for a walk, go into the bathroom if you can't, you know, just lock the door in there and just stay, you know, until it's over with. And you'll teach him very, very quickly that this is not something that I'm willing to tolerate for one reason and one reason only, I have too much respect for myself to allow anybody to talk disrespectfully to me.
Awesome.
That's my advice.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. And by the way, when you change the atmosphere like that and do that, you will impact him. If you react with anger to yourself and allow, get into arguments and tell him I don't want to do this, and you may have things that just that come out that you don't want to come out. You have to remember that if you don't eliminate darkness in your life, and this is darkness that you're talking about. You don't eliminate darkness by throwing more darkness at it. You eliminate it by throwing light at it, and that's what I'm asking you to do. Throw light at it. Like, teach him I'm not going to allow myself to be placed into this darkness any longer. And it's like the line I've said so many times on this show over the years, that when Jesus would walk into a village, just his presence in the village and nothing more would elevate the consciousness of everyone in the village. You can elevate the consciousness of the people in your home by being a being of love and a being who refuses to allow this kind of behavior, because it's darkness coming at light, and light will always end darkness, but darkness never ends light.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. God bless you. In Kansas City, what's the temperature there?
Oh, about 12.
About 12?
Maybe, if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I try not to go out there today, so.
Well, thanks for calling. I love talking to you, and I hope that helps.
Oh, it does immensely.
Yeah.
You don't even know.
Thanks.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, dear. God bless you. Namaste.
And let's see if we can get to a few other people. Some really good calls today.
Good.
Interesting questions. And let's go to Jeanette on line 8, and she's calling from New Jersey.
Hi, Dr. Dyer. I'm so excited to hear your voice today. And we're snowing here in Montclair, New Jersey. We're stuck in the house. The kids are outside enjoying the snow. So I'm so excited we connected this today.
I am too. It's great to hear from you in New Jersey. Listen, I'm going to close all the lanes down to all the bridges in your state. What do you think?
No. Oh boy, that would be that.
That poor guy he's really dealing with it now, isn't he?
Oh, he sure is. They're all coming out now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But my question is, I just closed my toy store in October, and I've always read all of your books, have seen all your PBS specials, and have been trying to practice more and more what you talk about. And lately, I wanted to ask, how do you know when, you're actually connected to Source? Sometimes I know it's a wonderful, warm feeling, but I wanted to hear your description of it when you do sit and meditate and actually connect.
Well, the truth is you're always connected. What you have to ask yourself is, what direction am I going? I mean, who you are, who all of us are, our source energy. We have it within us. But the problem is that we walk away from it, but it's like you can't walk away from what you are. And what you are, it has a spark of God in you. And the best way to know that when it isn't ego, because ego is the part, it's like there are like these two forces. The Kabbalah teaches us that there are two forces. There's the force of light, and there's a force of dark. And it's all the same force. I mean, but basically it's like, what direction is it going? When it is moving towards, hatred and bitterness and anger and judgment and resentment and fear and anxiety and stress and pain and so on, when you are moving in that direction, it's still, and I believe this and have written about this myself, that it's still love, but it's moving away from your source. Here's how I look at it. And then there's the other direction when you're moving toward it. So it's like, just picture the hands of a clock, okay? And at the top is there's two hands on the clock, okay? There's the minute hand and the hour hand. And you're born when both of them are right at the 12, right? So you can get a little metaphor of this in your mind. So now the not the hour hand, but the minute hand starts moving in the direction of towards, away from its source. The hour hand stays there. That's your source. And you are now moving. So you go past the 1 and you go past the 2 and you're moving away from your source. So this whole side all the way down to the 6 is each minute that goes by, or each hour, however you want to call it, that goes by, as you hit the 2 and as you hit the 3, 4, 5, this is all movement away from where you originated. You originated from a source of love, of perfect love, a source of what we call oneness, which means There's no opposites. The opposite of joy when you're in the ego state is sadness. But when you're in divine love, there's no opposite of joy. Everything is just joy. But you're not there because you're moving away until you get to the 6. And now you're at the 6. And this is when you're furthest away from your source. This is when you're at the lowest point in your life. This is when you feel that you've fallen as far as you can go. The anger, the hurt, the resentment, the pain is so deep there. And now you have a choice. You can either stay, you've moved away, taken on all this ego, believe that who you are is all the stuff that you own and all of the people that you're mad at and all the judgments that you have towards others. But now you're at 6. Now you can either stay there because the hand doesn't go backwards. It won't go back to the 5, 4. It doesn't work that way. You have to now start coming the other way. Now you're going to the 7 and the 8, and now you're coming home. And it's when you're on this side, when you're coming home back to where you originated from, you're heading back towards perfect love. And divine love is the kind of love that was your origination point. And this is when you know that you're connected. It's not whether you're there perfect, because as long as you're in a human body, there's going to be some separation. There's going to be opposites. And as long as you're on this planet, there's going to be east and west, and north and south, and up and down, and male and female, and good and bad. All of these dichotomies that we all experience and these paradoxes. But ultimately, when you get back to the 12, when you rejoin it, what happens is you fuse these dichotomies. And you're in a place where there's only love. There's no opposite. And as you start to look out at the world and see people behaving in certain ways, you still only have love, because that's all that you are as you're connecting yourself back. And you'll find yourself slipping when you're at the 8 and when you're at the 9, at the 10. But the closer you get to reuniting yourself with your source of being, the more that you will experience just feelings of bliss and love and kindness and joy. And when you're not, it's probably because you've got thoughts of judgment and criticism and condemnation towards some of God's children or some of the creations that we have or that you run into. And when you get rid of the judgment and the condemnation and the criticism, you're at the 7 and you're coming home. So the question isn't whether or not, you're with your source. The question is, what direction are you moving? Are you moving away from what you originated from? Because when you originated, I just saw something that's gone viral on the internet that my kid sent me. I'm thinking about posting it. I did post it on my Facebook page. It's of a little baby. And this baby is laughing at a dog that somebody's throwing popcorn at this little dog. And the baby's maybe 7 or 8 months old, if that. And it's just laughing. It's just it can't stop laughing. It's like it's at such bliss that it's just laughter. And it's like, William Wordsworth, a very famous English poet, said that our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. Heaven lies about us in our infancy. And knowing that you're with Source is remembering who you are, remembering where you came from, knowing that you don't, when you came into this world, you had no judgment. You just, you just were here, and you were just accepting, and your mom put her breast in your mouth, and you were just content and happy and gurgling and all of that. And then you took on this ego, and then you starting to believe, and then comparing yourself and trying to be better than other people, trying to accumulate more stuff than other people. All of this is movement away. And now you start coming home, and you become more and more like God, which is really just where you become a being of sharing, because that's what God is. God just offers us everything in the universe, whatever it is, the source that we came from. It's just a source of abundance, and it doesn't ask for anything in return. It just allows anything to be. And the more and more you find yourself doing those things, that's when you know you're reconnecting, or at least you're heading back to the source. And when you ultimately get back to the 12, this is when you just shed your body, and we call it death, but this is the place that we call immortality. That's what Emily Dickinson called it. She says, because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. This is when you start to realize that who you are is this, you're not a human being having a spiritual experience. It's the other way around. You're this infinite spiritual being with a soul who's just having a little temporary human experience. And the closer and closer you get back to the 12, the more you know you're with Source. Long answer, but it's. I hope that made sense.
No, it did. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, God bless you, dear. Thanks for calling today.
And we have just a minute, but I think time for one quick one.
Okay.
Slide one
I didn't
more
realize
person
it was
in.
that close. Okay.
Yeah, just 3 minutes. So let's
3
grab
minutes is
Kent real quick from Toronto. He's on line 2 and has been very patient holding. And Kent, we have just a few minutes, but you're on with Dr. Dyer.
Oh, hi. Thank you.
Hey, Kent.
Hi. How are you? I'm actually not in Toronto. I was in to come and see you in Maui in Divine Love last weekend, which I really enjoyed.
Oh, I'm so glad. What did you think?
It was great. And then so I'm just staying with some friends in Honolulu. So I'm still enjoying your weather for now, and then I'm going to go back to minus 25 soon. But no, I loved it because with, say, Scarlett and Ilibagiza, they were talking about forgiveness, which kind of reminded me to forgive myself and forgive others. And then with Anita and Mary, they were talking more about, reminding me who I really am, which is divine love. So, but anyway, it was just great. It was just a great atmosphere. I really enjoyed.
Do you have still the hangover effect of it? Is it? Are you still feeling it? Because it's been over a week for me, and I've just been walking around awash and like I'm in a bowl of soup, that is called love. I mean, everything I look at it really impacted me that way.
Yeah, no, it's just very, like a joyful state or a blissful state, or just constantly reminding me who I really am. So not like I just loved the prior caller when you were talking about when I find myself in anger or frustration, to remind myself of compassion and kindness and joyfulness, and it takes me to another place. So, and when you said about that chapter 16, I reread Mary's chapter 16, and it's such a great reminder of who we really are. It makes me tingle when I read it, right?
It's called Out of the Blue, and Hay House, I talked to Reed, and who's a president of Hay House, and he's agreed that we're going to publish it. We're going to help her get the first parts of it edited, but it's very, very powerful. It's very seldom that I ever... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm looking forward to that. So I came to see you in San Diego, the taping of I Can See Clearly Now, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'll probably see myself in the audience next week.
You will, definitely, March. Yeah.
That was very good, too. So,
good.
Yeah.
And
no,
that
I just
was
wanted
after...
to thank you. I had a great weekend. It was very enjoyable, and it was a great feeling. So I just wanted to thank you thank you for putting that on.
I'm so happy that you were there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I'm so glad to hear from someone who was actually there, and to see if it had the leftover effect that it's had on me. I'm just seeing love everywhere, even in my sore neck. I'm seeing love. What about that?
I think I got a sore neck too, so I'll have to look for the love in that too.
Yeah.
But that's
well,
great.
thanks
I
for
just
calling.
wanted to quickly call and thank you very much for that weekend.
Well, I thank you, and I appreciate it. God bless you, my friend.
Very good. Some great callers, and we will connect next week.
I hope so.
Dr. Wayne Dyer joining us in Maui. Dr. Dyer, it's great to chat with you.
Thank you. It's good to be here. So my brother sent me, just before we take calls, I just want to read this. He sent me something that he was writing. My brother's a veteran, and he was in Vietnam. One day, a teacher asked her students to list the names of the other students in the room on 2 sheets of paper, leaving a space between each name. Then she told them to think of the nicest thing that they could say about each and every one of their classmates and to write it down. It took the remainder of the class period to finish their assignment, and as the students left the room, each one handed in the papers. That Saturday, the teacher wrote down the names of each student on a separate sheet of paper and listed what everyone else had said about that individual. On Monday, she gave each student his or her list. The entire class was smiling. Really, she heard whispered, "I never knew I meant so much to anyone, and I didn't know others liked me so much," were most of the comments. No one ever mentioned those papers in class again. She never knew if they discussed them after class or with their parents, but it didn't matter. The exercise had accomplished its purpose. The students were happy with themselves and one another. That group of students moved on. Several years later, one of the students was killed in Vietnam, and his teacher attended the funeral of that special student. She had never seen a serviceman in a military coffin before. He looked so handsome, so mature. The church was packed with his friends. One by one, those who loved him took a last walk by the coffin. The teacher was the last one to bless the coffin. As she stood there, one of the soldiers, who acted as a pallbearer, came up to her. "Were you Mark's math teacher?" he asked. She nodded yes. Then he said, "Mark talked about you a lot." After the funeral, most of Mark's former classmates went together for a luncheon. Mark's mother and father were there, obviously waiting to speak with the teacher. "We want to show you something," his father said, taking a wallet out of his pocket. "They found this on Mark when he was killed. We thought you might recognize it." Opening the billfold, he carefully removed 2 worn pieces of notebook paper that had obviously been taped, folded, and refolded many times. The teacher knew without looking that the papers were the ones on which she had listed all the things each of Mark's classmates had said about him. "Thank you so much for doing that," Mark's mother said. As you can see, Mark treasured it. All of Mark's former classmates started to gather around. Charlie smiled rather sheepishly and said, I still have my list. It's in the top drawer of my desk at home. Chuck's wife said, Chuck asked me to put this in our wedding album. I have mine too, Marilyn said. It's in my diary. Then Vicky, another classmate, reached into her pocketbook, took out her wallet, and showed her worn and frazzled list to the group. I carried this with me at all times, Vicky said. And without batting an eyelash, she continued, I think we all saved our lists. That's when the teacher finally sat down and cried. She cried for Mark and for all his friends that would never see him again. The density of people in society is so thick that we forget that life will end one day, and we don't know when that day will be. So please tell the people you love and care for that they are special and important. Tell them before it's too late. I just thought that was such a beautiful message.
Wow, that is
and
beautiful.
What a wonderful thing to do in a classroom, because I remember years ago I came across some research in some of my reading, and I jotted it down, and I used this in a lot of my earlier talks, that there's a tribe in the northern part of South Africa where whenever anybody in the tribe gets out of line, misbehaves, starts acting crazy, does things that are inappropriate, whatever it might be, gets angry, lashes out at people, whatever, that everybody in the tribe would gather around and they would put the person in the middle of the circle. And everybody in the circle and everybody in the tribe would go around and say to this recalcitrant, troublemaking person sitting in the center what they liked about him, what they loved about him. And rather than all of them pointing out all the things they didn't like and the things that were wrong, they just consistently would tell them how wonderful they are, how much they were treasured, what they liked about them, and so on. And that would end the problem. And they had almost no disciplinary problems in this particular tribe because the focus was always on looking at what you like, looking at what's positive, instead of continuously looking out from behind your eyeballs and seeing people the way you think they should be, or seeing, and expecting the world to be different than it really is. And sending love and appreciation to people. That story, I don't know if it's a true story or if it's apocryphal. My brother sent it to me, but I think it's got a lot of implications. And you school teachers out there who might be listening, what a wonderful idea to do in a classroom, especially in a classroom where everybody knows each other, to let them hear the things that people don't say enough about how much they're loved and how much they're treasured and so on.
I love
and
that
I learned
story.
this lesson. Yeah, I learned this lesson personally years ago with one of my children who was having some issues with prescription drugs. And what I did, I don't know how long ago this was, 20-some years ago, I called a family meeting, and I had everybody in the family tell this person, one of my children, how upset it made them to see her behaving in these ways, and the impact that it had on them, and the impact that it had on mom and on dad and on the family and so on. And each person, as they would go around, would be saying, negative things to this person and just reinforcing perhaps the reasons why these prescription drugs were being used in the first place. And it was a very important lesson for me to learn that if I were to do that over, and I did do it over later, is to put that same person in the room, and instead of having everybody point out what you don't like and what's wrong and what's missing and how you're hurting everybody else and so on, but instead to say to that person, have each person talk about all the things about them that they love, the things that they treasure, that they remember about them. So that came out of my own learning experience, and I just thought I wanted to share that here this morning, because so often, so many of the calls that we take here on the radio show are a reflection of the one thing that I think everybody out there wants. Everybody wants to know that they are loved. And, that story about him carrying that around with him for his whole life, it's like whenever he would have any doubts about that, he would open that little piece of paper that he carried and be reminded about how valuable he is, how loved he is, how terrific he is. We all need to know that. And I think if we did that, not only could we change the consciousness in our families, but we could change it in our communities, in our country, which God knows needs a lot of bringing together. We become the divided states of America instead of the United States of America. And the same thing globally and in the world, because with what's going on in Gaza today and what's, with planes being shot down out of the air, and we've got to look within and find, in our neighbors and in our people, especially the ones that annoy us, what about them that we love rather than what about them that we hate. It's a good way to focus in our life. As I say in my stationery, loving people live in a loving world, and hostile people live in a hostile world. And it's the same world. It's the same world. Just decide what kind of person you're going to be. St. John of the Cross, who was a 16th century Spanish mystic and a saint in the Catholic Church, was the person who really coined the term the dark night of the soul. Said that he had one quote that I've always remembered. He said, "Where there is no love, put love, and you will find love." And I think that really speaks to compassion. And, if you really want to find love, just look where there is no love, particularly, in some of the kinds of things that are going on in the world today, and put love there, and then you will find love. And in your daily relationships with each other, it's a good lesson. Just put some love there, and guess what? That's exactly what you'll see coming back to you.
And that was St. John of the Cross?
Yeah, St. John of the Cross, yeah. Yeah, he was a Spanish mystic. He spent a lot of his years in prison. I read a whole biography of him not too long ago. Yeah, beautiful man, like a monk. Yeah.
I love that ancient wisdom.
Yes. It's pretty modern, too.
Yeah, and it still fits.
Right.
So you ready to share with some people
I am.
here?
Let's see who's
points
out
all
there.
over.
Who would like to talk to me this morning?
Well, this is a cool name, so I'd like to start with her, Leilani.
Okay.
Leilani in Denver.
That's a very common name here in Maui.
Is it?
Yeah, and there's a restaurant about 700 yards from where I live called Leilani's here on Maui. So you hear a lot of Hawaiian people, but I'll bet you this lady has some Hawaiian background.
Are you Leilani? Welcome to the show. Are you from Hawaii?
Aloha. No, I was not born in Hawaii, but I spent some time on the Big Island.
Ah, well,
I'm
welcome.
a little nervous, Dr. Dyer. Thank you. I woke up this morning and I said, I'm going to talk to Dr. Dyer today, and it's happening.
And it's happening. Good for you. It's because of that name of yours, that Leilani. How did you get that name? How come your mom named you Leilani?
It means heavenly flower, and they like this song called Sweet Leilani.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there you go. Well, great. Okay, Heavenly Flower, what's on your mind, my dear?
Well, a couple things. Dr. Dyer, I'm involved with the Crystal Water Healing Project, and I want to send you some free crystals to put in the oceans on September 21st.
Okay.
And we just say a chant. It's a global project, aqualuz.org. And we are
what is it? Say it again. Say it slower so we know. Aqua?
AQUA, luz, LUZ.org. We're having a global water healing event on September 21st, and we're passing around crystals around the globe. And you infuse the crystal with your light and love and place it in the water.
I love that. What a nice idea.
Okay. And I called you because I had the merit to hear you at I Can Do It in Denver, and that event changed my life.
How so?
Well, because your story about how everything in your life has lined up and how you've taken the pain of your childhood and that has brought you light.
Yeah,
and
I can see clearly
now. I believe my dharma involves traveling. I'm a world traveler, and I love it so much, and helping people. So I envision traveling the world and helping women and children heal from trauma. But I'm just me. I don't have a family. I'm just this person with this big dream, and I'd like your guidance on how to manifest it.
Well, you don't need my guidance. Every desire that we have is placed there by an intelligence, the same intelligence that, I'm looking out my window right now at all these palm trees, and I'm looking over to and I see birds just flitting by here, building a nest of some kind. And I look over at the ocean, and I'll be in the ocean in a little while, and I look at all of these creatures that are down there, and there goes another bird. And whatever intelligence it is that is moving everything in the universe also is what places these desires inside of us. It isn't something that we can do with our human personality, because our human personality has no idea even what a desire is or what a thought is. We are restricted to our senses, what we can touch, what we can see, what we can feel, what is physical, what has form, what has beginning, what has ends, and so on. But thoughts and desires are outside of that realm completely. You can't get a hold of a thought. How many thoughts can you put in a quart bottle? It's infinite. So whatever it is that places these desires inside of us, it's what I call our impersonality, the impersonal part of us, that which is in everything. And that placed that in there for you, Leilani. It's that burning desire is there. And it wasn't you, Leilani, when you said it, you're just me. You're not just me. That's just a belief system that you have that identifies you on the basis of what you can see with your eyes and what you can touch with your hands and what you can smell with your nose and so on. But who you are is really a piece of the divine. You know, you have the intelligence that creates worlds deep within you. It's who you are. And it placed that in there, this whole crystal project and the things that you want to do and the traveling, you know, and helping people, women and so on. All you have to do is not let yourself get distracted from this intelligence that was placed in there. You know, you have to remind yourself, why do I have such a desire to do this? Where does this come from? And then you stop yourself and say, well, the answer to that isn't going to be found in my human self. It's going to be found in my spiritual self. So I have to just let go of that and just trust that whatever it is that placed it in there for me, and I can't let it go. And it's like, I call it your excitement. You know, you get so excited about this. The reason that you're excited about it is because you're aligned with your dharma. You're aligned with what it is that you came into this world to be. That's why it feels good, because feeling good and feeling God are exactly the same thing. There's zero difference between good and God, 1-0. So now you trust in that and you say, okay, this wasn't me that placed this in here. And so I'm going to allow myself to surrender to it. And I'm going to trust that whatever intelligence it is that placed that in there for me is also going to place next to me or within my grasp all of the tools and everything that I need to be able to fulfill it and to actualize it. And this is what I Can See Clearly is about. Now you have to move into the ladder that I've spoken about so many times here on the show, that Rumi said that when we are born, a ladder is placed before us to help us to escape from this world. That is, to escape from the belief that our senses are the things that are our reality. So now you have these rungs on this ladder. And the rungs on the ladder are things that I call willingness. Like, how willing are you to do whatever it takes to align your behavior with this burning desire that has been placed inside of you? You know, and if you have anything on your unwilling list, well, I'm not willing to do this, and I can't afford that, and it means I might have to move here, and I might have to change this relationship, or I might have to change jobs, or I might have to go to, you know, whatever it might be. If you read I Can See Clearly Now, you are listening to a man who was always willing to do whatever it took to fulfill that dharma, to climb that rung on the ladder, to help me to escape from this physical world and move into the world of spirit, where all things are possible. You know, with God, all things are possible. And as I always ask my audience now, what does that leave out? So willingness and determination is another rung on that ladder, and compassion that Diane mentioned earlier is on that ladder, and fearlessness, like how many times do I let my fears that I might fail, fears that I won't have enough money, fears that other people won't approve of me, letting go all of that, because the same force that is growing your fingernails every single night, independent of your opinion about it, no matter how much you may say to yourself tonight when you go to bed, I'm not going to have these fingernails grow. I'm tired of them growing, and I got to cut them all the time and color them. I'm going to stop it. There's a force that is greater than your physical self that just grows your fingernails. And that's the same force that placed that desire in you. And now you move to the ultimate on the ladder. You say, okay, I'm willing. That's why I wrote I Can See Clearly Now, to let people see that when you come to a fork in the road and you're not sure which way to turn and you trust your intuition, you'll be guided. You'll be guided by what inside of you is just what I call your excitement, but it's really your alignment with the universal source. It's what Abraham calls the law of attraction. And that's how you do it, my dear, until you ultimately get to the top of the ladder, where you look around yourself and you say, you know, I'm really not here as a human being at all, having a spiritual experience. My true essence, who I am as a human being, is I am really a spiritual being. I'm an infinite spiritual being, having a very temporary human experience. And I'm going to trust in that and live from that place. So now I'm going to start doing what I wrote about in Wishes Fulfilled. I'm going to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. I'm going to feel what it feels like to be doing this thing that you've described to me, not as something that I'm going to do if everything works out, but as an already accomplished fact, you know, in your mind. And then you begin to act in that way, and you start to align with all of the forces that make everything happen in the world. And that's my rant.
Beautiful.
Makes sense.
I wish you were my father. You're so
Well, I am your father. You know, we're all each other's children and all each other's brothers and sisters. We're truly the same intelligence that created you, that brought you into this world, brought me into this world. We originated from the same place. There's only one source. There's only one.
beautiful. Is there any way I can send you? I have a crystal that actually takes toxins out of the water called shungite, and I'd love to send you some. How do I just wait and talk to the people?
No, here's what you do. When you hang up, what we're going to do is you leave your address, and we're going to send you a brand new book that was written by my daughter, Serena, and myself called Don't Die, With Your Music Still Inside of You. And also my other daughter's CD, which is called Letting Go. We're going to send you both of those as a gift to everyone that calls in today. And the person that takes down the address will give you my address here on Hawaii, and then you can just mail it to me directly right here on Maui.
I love you, Dr. Dyer. Thank you for being a light in the world. Aloha.
Thank you so much. Aloha. God bless you. Namaste.
God bless. Namaste.
And we'll get that out to Leilani, or I'll get her information and send the address because I
give
do
her my address as well. Yeah, I want to get the crystals. I want my water purified.
That's great.
Water is such a big thing. I mean, she was talking. I would like to have gone into that because someday I'd like to do a show on water. As I've told you before, I do an ayahuasca ceremony about once a month now, and I'll go into that maybe sometime as well. But one of the lectures that was given in the middle of that ceremony, the last time I was there about a month ago, was a talk on water. It was a gratitude for water. And, you know, when I did the Tao, and I was a Taoist for a year in 2005, when I wrote Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, based on the Tao Te Ching, 27 verses in the Tao mention water and what we have to learn from it and how it's... you know, the essence of it. And this talk that was given and these songs that were sung as a tribute to water and just being in it, it's like gratitude is one of the big themes in my life these days. You know, in my talks, I now thank my audience very often for all the wonderful things that have come into my life because they've decided, you know, that I would be someone whose books they would buy or whose lectures they would listen to or whose lectures they would pay to come and hear. And I'm in that state of gratitude. And I think water is one of the things, and air and fire, you know, and these kind of things that we just simply take for granted. And then our livers, you know, we should have Liver Appreciation Day, you know, every single day. Because without that liver, you know, there's not many breaths that you're going to take. And water is one of the things that I feel very strongly about, that it's being contaminated in our world.
Well, it's certainly an important issue around the world and something, I mean, you're right. We do take it for granted, you know, here in the States. We're a little more aware, I think, in Southern California because we're drying up here and we have no water.
And then on the East Coast, we're in floods. And I've often given this metaphor. I don't know if I've done it on the radio show or not, but I will since it's come up. It's like balance. We're just out of balance. And consciousness, we know that our consciousness impacts everything in our environment. You know, I was looking at some studies of the impact that our thoughts have on plants. You know, when you're around plants and plants know that you're someone who doesn't respect them or has got hate in your heart, they close up and so on. And when you come at plants with love and so on, you know, we know that our consciousness impacts simple things like plants and the animals and, of course, each other as well. And if our consciousness impacts the environment, and our environment is really out of whack, it seems to me these days. I mean, so many floods and so many fires. I mean, there's a huge fire up in the West Coast, up in Washington, that's out of control. And then on the East Coast, we got a country that is divided, you know, the divided states of America on one coast. And what is happening physically in our planet is that we're so out of balance that we're on one hand, we're all the way with water, all the way to the left. There is no water, it's drought. And on the other hand of the country, we have so much of it that it's drowning us. And that there's some connection in there somewhere between, if we know that the thoughts that we have impact our plants around us, certainly we know that collectively, if enough of us have thoughts of division and hatred and what we don't like about each other, that collectively is going to impact everything in our culture. And so we've really got to get back to a place where we're thinking and living and loving as one rather than in a divided way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So true. We're all connected in that universal field, right?
Yes, we certainly are.
So
All right,
where should we
let's
go
see.
next?
That was a long rant this morning. That was my coffee.
But it's good when you get on a roll. You know, it's
Yes,
always
I
something
know.
good.
I like it myself. I go back and say, that was brilliant. Who said that? Was that me?
Write it down.
Right.
So let's go to Amy, and she's on line 3. And Amy, I know people probably say Missouri. It's Missouri or Missouri? Well, how do you
Missouri.
say it?
I say Missouri.
Okay.
It's the
that's
show
right.
me state. It's the show me state.
It is the show me state.
Right.
Dr. Dyer, I have to say thank you for taking my call. Listening to you, I'm not even sure why I called, except for to say, first of all, the story you shared about the teacher.
Yeah, isn't that great?
My third grade teacher did that.
Really? Oh, tell me about it.
I still have those. What she did was we had a student of the week every week, and we would sit down, and the child would sit in the front, and she would go student by student and write down something nice about that student that the other classmates shared, and it would hang on the wall for the entire week. And so I actually got to do it twice that year because we ran out of students, and it's something that I kept forever. I still have them.
Now see, what motivated me to write, I can see clearly now. I don't know. Have you read that? Have you had a chance to read that yet?
No, I have not.
Make a note, Diane. We're going to send her a copy of that, okay? She's the one person left in the world who hasn't read it.
Send it out.
But in the writing of that, I was really motivated to write that, just to let people know that feeling, that it was motivated. I actually decided to write it. I was reading a book called To Know We Are Loved by Rashad Field, and that's F-E-I-L-D. For some reason, he's a Sufi. And he said that it's the one thing that all of us just want to have in our lives. If this is taken care of, all of the other things that we call problems dissolve right away. And that's just to know that we are loved. And imagine, you said as a third grader, that was like many, many years ago for you, and you probably have carried that thing around or you've referred back to it, and it's just a confirmation that, hey, I'm not only loved by my fellow students and my family and all of that, but I'm loved by a divine intelligence as well. I'm loved by whatever it is that is love. It's like Jesus said, God is love. If we came from love, then, when we have love in us, we have God in us, and we become God when we have love inside of us. Yeah, and to know that we are loved. So you carried that around with you, did you, for your lifetime?
Yes, I still have them out in my garage. They're on little cardboard paper.
Uh-huh.
Really great.
But,
so I actually wanted to be a third grade teacher because of that. That's what I was going to do with my life when I grew up.
Wow. I love that.
For a very long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you. Go ahead.
My question really was, I'm at kind of a unique place in my life. I've spent a lot of time trying to energetically clear blocks from my past, and I've wanted to do a documentary for about 21 years now, and recently have been offered the opportunity to do that, but I find that as I'm supposed to be working on the storyboard and things, that I get stuck and just don't do it. And I want to do it. I'm very excited about it, and I just don't know what old patterns are coming up for me and how I can figure out what they are so that I can clear them and not lose out on this opportunity that I really want.
Okay, so the biggest blockage that you have, you've already demonstrated in your question. And that is, seriously, I mean, I'm not being critical. It's that, you can never accomplish anything unless you can first expect it of yourself. So the question I would have for you, Amy, would be, what do you expect from yourself? Now you want to do a documentary, and you know that there are going to be obstacles, and they're going to be different. There's going to be, this is going to come up, and that's going to come up, and that isn't, But have you already seen the finished product? See, when I start to write a book, for example, I'm already in the process of that. I want to share a little bit about what's happening with me in that in a future show right now, because it's just been overwhelming. I already have the completed book, a picture of it in front of me that I look at every single day. And so that'd be the first thing I would recommend, is seeing it already completed and fulfilled. If it's going to be a DVD or whatever it's going to be, however you're going to create it, get the packaging for it, even if it's going to change. See it, look at it, so that every time you look at it, you've already assumed the feeling that is emotionally inside of you, because emotions are what move this creative process. your feelings. And if you're feeling, just like what it feels like to know that you've accomplished this, if you could get that feeling now in this moment, and then what you do is you align with the universal source, the divine mind that allows everything to take place. You're aligned with it because that universal source always says yes, and so the funding will start to show up, the right people will start to show up. This is how this whole process works. It's getting past the doubt. I think the very first obstacle to higher consciousness is, I used to call it banishing the doubt. Shakespeare said, our doubts are our traitors. You said, I'm afraid old patterns are going to show up. That's a doubt, Instead of your mind saying, there's nothing in my past that will do anything to prevent me from fulfilling this vision that I've already seen as an accomplished fact. There is nothing that I have ever experienced that will ever allow me to interfere with it. So you're starting from a place of banishing the doubt, and then you shut down that inner dialogue. That's another obstacle to higher consciousness, is this constant inner kind of thing about this isn't going to work out, and what if it doesn't, and what if I don't, and all of the what ifs and the maybes and the hurts and the fears and so on. All of that stuff just gets rolled in there. Meantime, Maslow used to say to us that a self-actualized person is someone who never places into their imagination anything that they do not want to manifest into their real life. So they would never put a thought into them about, I'd like to do this, I'd like to really accomplish this, I know this is something that I'm really born to do. It's a burning desire that's been placed in there by me. And then here comes all of the stuff that is going to interfere with you. And so that inner dialogue is a constant kind of, this is, it's based on feeling that you don't have the ability or the desire, or that you're not smart enough, or that you're, whatever it might be. And all of that stuff. Whereas a self-actualized person already sees it as an accomplished fact, and just like any obstacle that shows up, they just see that as just something to get around, or to, you're even grateful for those obstacles, because, it's often been said that every advance that we make towards a higher spiritual place in our life is almost always preceded by a fall of some kind or another. So that all of the things that most people call obstacles and so on, to a self-actualized person, this is just another stepping stone in order to allow myself to get to this place that I've already been in my imagination. Because, Amy, the greatest gift that you were ever given from the moment that you were conceived is the gift of your imagination. You can place anything in there that you want to have in there. And there is nothing that anyone can do to take it away from you. And that everything, William Blake said that everything that now exists was once imagined. So I used to tell my kids that, crazy sentences like this, that the law of flotation was not discovered by the contemplation of the sinking of things. When the Wright brothers went, down to Kitty Hawk, they weren't contemplating the staying on the ground of things. They were contemplating the getting off the ground of things, and they wouldn't have any other thoughts into their consciousness. And that's why we have airplanes, because somebody, had that vision that was so strong inside of them that they would never allow the opposite, that is, that this isn't going to work out. I used to use that example of Thomas Edison when he was trying to invent the electric filament for the light bulb. And someone said to him, how does someone as famous as you, who's tried 25,000 different combinations, feel about failing 25,000 times? And his answer was classic. He said, I don't know what you're talking about, failure. He said, today I know 25,000 ways not to make a battery. That's what it was, a battery. So anyway,
I just heard my answer so clearly, in that I am thinking about what's preventing me from doing it and not doing it.
Exactly.
That's
exactly. And you become what you think about all day long. Like I'm in the process. I'm going to write a book that, and I had made up my mind I wasn't going to write a book, any more books a couple of years ago, and now I'm working on, I've written another one I can see clearly now, and then, I'm working on another one. And it's like I am so open, and I have so surrendered, and I'm so, every morning when I wake up, I woke up this morning at 5 o'clock, and I just take these 2 crystals and I put them in my hand, I meditate for like an hour, just asking for the guidance to be able to write this book on a subject that I truthfully don't feel don't feel knowledgeable enough. I don't feel like I know enough. And yet it's just something that it just won't go away. And a lot of it is based on this idea about burning desires that I've been speaking about, that, this impersonal self of us, and wanting to make that really clear and to take the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and bring it all together in this final book that I feel is writing itself through me. But I never, ever allow the thought that I can't do it. I just say to myself, whatever I need will be there at the time that I need it. And I'm coming from a complete and total place of knowing that this is something that I have to fulfill before I leave this earth. That's where you have to get to, my love. That's where you have to get to. And I'm going to send you I Can See Clearly Now, and I'm going to send you Don't Die With Your Music Still In You with Serena Dyer, which is a wonderful book about what it was like to be raised around crazy people like me. And my daughter Sky singing Letting Go, singing the beautiful song that I danced with Serena to at her wedding on the 1st of July 3 weeks ago. She's already the long-term marriage, Diane. 3 weeks. They're still together.
It's going great.
And my daughter Sky sang that beautiful
song.
song.
The photos on Facebook with her are beautiful.
Oh, you saw that? Oh,
yes, of course.
Yeah. I know. I posted that because I wanted everybody to see what a beautiful bride, what a beautiful day. It was truly one of the happiest days of my life.
Yes,
so.
they are beautiful. And I have a bag that I purchased from one of your daughters that I Can Do It.
Oh, sure, Tracy, my daughter Tracy, an urban junket. Yeah, if you ever want to know about those, she makes them out of recycled plastic water bottles. I mean, they're so beautiful. Yeah, Well, thank you, Amy. Where in Missouri? Where are you from? Where in Missouri?
Nixon, Missouri. I actually work in Branson, Missouri, but 30 minutes away. So.
Yeah, that's the home of Harry Truman. I mean, Independence, Missouri.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, my dear.
Very much.
You're very welcome. Leave your address. God bless you. Thanks for a nice call.
Thank you.
That's great advice, too. A lot of people struggle with that. I'm sure that's going to help.
With what?
With just getting in their own way, some self-sabotage and those negative thought patterns.
I was swimming in a pool up in Minneapolis when I was visiting Tracy, and there was a slogan written on the wall for the swimming team. And every time I would go in one direction, I would look up, and I had my head turned that way. I would read this slogan, and I read it I swam that day for a full hour. And so I must have read it, 100 times, and it said, if you want to create something in your life, you must first be able to expect it of yourself. And I would think about that as I was swimming. I'd think, it's really just about what are my expectations for me. And if my expectations are how difficult something's going to be, it can't work out, I can't afford it, I'm not smart enough, I'm too old, whatever it might be. If those are your thoughts, that's what you expect from yourself. The universal subconscious mind aligns with that thought that you have continuously and offers you experiences that match up to it. It gives you all the things that you've said you want. So it's really shifting that around.
Right. It's a good reminder, especially for me, because I'm kind of entering into this home buying realm that I've avoided for a long time. And, so I'm just thinking, hey, the right situation will align,
but
and
the best thing,
right
Diane,
thing I'll find will be great.
I can't tell you how many letters I've had from people over the years, thousands of people, and especially about houses, people who get a vision in their imagination of what it is and what it looks like, and after they do that for a while, they can actually see it. They can see the color. They can see what the lawn looks like. They can see what the road, they can see everything about it. And then one day, they look, and there it is, and it's impossible for them not to get it. That's how powerful, our ability to visualize and manifest. That's how everything happens. Everything happens from our thoughts. All right, let's see if we can get another call in this morning.
Squeeze in a few more people. Yeah. I like this one. Allie in Los Angeles. She's on line 5, and I know a lot of people feel disconnected from friends and family and would like to feel closer. So I'm sure people can relate to what Allie's going through. And welcome to the show, Allie. You're on with Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Allie.
Hi. So, my family, I think I just basically rejected them when I was a little kid, and I moved away. I was able to manifest another home. And
How old were you, Allie?
10.
You were 10? You decided one day to leave, or?
No, I wanted before that, and then when I was 10, an opportunity arose, and I moved into a home for kids.
Okay.
And it was my choice. I I got to choose. And then I was brought to another country by my father, who they got divorced when I was 7. I guess America. I was brought to America. And I'm now ready, I think, to reconnect. But I've noticed that even with my present family, I have some closeness, but there's still a part of me, like I can be vulnerable with myself. I can be vulnerable with a stranger, but I don't really feel safe. I mean, when I'm with my family, I'm just not vulnerable. I'm just neutral.
Which family? Your original family you're speaking of?
Any family. My current and my,
Well, when you say current, what is your current family? Is it?
Kids and my husband.
It's your husband and children?
Yes.
Okay, and then now this family that you would like to reconnect to, but who does that consist of?
Sister, brother, mother, my father who's in New York. Yeah, that's that.
Okay. So, and have you been estranged from them for all these years?
Yes.
Okay, and now there's something inside of you, and what is that something inside of you? What is this burning desire inside of you saying to you about reconnecting with this original family? What's the motivation behind that? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I want to open and step more into myself, and I have to let go of these patterns of rejection. And I don't actively reject and hate them or anything. I just decided that they weren't working for me, and I needed to find something that was going to support my needs better. So I don't know what I did. It's like I shut down in some way, and I've done that with all humans. And that's shifting inside of me, but I'm still, even people want to get close to me, and I'm just neutral. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you listened to the whole show? Were you on at the beginning of the show?
Yes.
When I read that little piece about the school teacher and the children in the 3rd grade?
I wouldn't have trusted what anybody had said. That I don't believe that they would have said something that nice. It would have been just polite. That would have been a story. I can change that now. I can think of and purposely, but that was.
Let me ask you this: do you believe in God, or like some kind of divine presence that allows things to come into the world? Doesn't matter what we call it, but that there is some kind of. And do you believe that whatever that God is, whatever, do you believe that it's loving?
I had an experience in meditation where I was able to see love, and I was able to see how it was constantly surrounding all of us. And the only reason a person doesn't experience or see it is because they're participating in some form of rejection.
Yeah.
Experience.
So, Allie, let me ask you this, because we only have a few minutes left, and I think it's really important for you to try this little exercise. Just imagine God, the source from which all things are come, and the thing that we know about God, is that there's no place that it is not, that it is eternal, that it is omniscient, that it is all-knowing and all-powerful, and that it is eternal. So most of the great philosophical teachers will tell us that if you ask them what is real, how do you define reality, they will say that is real, which never changes. That is real, which is eternal. If it's not eternal, it's not real. So that all hatred, for example, is really not real. All evil is really not real because it's not eternal. It doesn't the only thing that is eternal is this love. Okay, so this is your source of being. It wasn't your parents. It wasn't, that brother and mother and sister that you would like to reunite with. Where you originally came from is where everything originates from, this original source of being. Try to imagine yourself in a conversation with this source of being that is nothing but pure love. God is love. It's just pure love. And asking this source what it thinks about you, Allie. How does it feel about you? Now remember, it is pure love, and you came from it. So, and the only thing that it knows, it's just oneness. The only thing that it knows is love. That's why it gives off these little sparks like you and me and everything that ever shows up into this world. And in a conversation with this source, ask it, what do you think of me? And what do you think it would say?
You're okay.
Yeah. Okay, just okay. Let me say, just okay? Let me try to give you go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just felt like that part of me was feeling defensive, and like I'm refusing to.
So let me try to be God, and speak to you, Allie. You are a part of me. You are a spark of me. I am love. I am pure love. That's all I am, is pure love. There's nothing but me. There's no opposites. I'm in a world in which there is no opposite of love. There is no hatred. There's no bitterness. These are concepts that I don't even know anything about because I'm only pure love. And you are a piece of that. You are a part of that. And therefore, to me, you are nothing but an expression of the highest thing that there is in this universe, the highest force that there is, and it's pure love. That's what you are. And that's how I feel about you. All I can do is love you because you are so precious to me that I gave up a little tiny piece of myself to have you show up in this world. That's how perfect you are. And when I don't recognize you is when you go into the reasons why there's something wrong with you, the reasons that you're bad, or the reasons that you might have come up with in your own mind, to place anything negative about yourself in your mind. It's not possible. You are me. I am you. And all I have for you is love. I don't know how that resonates with you. I just got it here in my ear that we just have less than a minute left in the show. But I'd like to send you a copy. Have you read I Can See Clearly Now?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I'd like to send that to you. And also my daughter's book, Don't Die With Your Music Still In You. Great lesson for that in you. And also Sky's Letting Go. 3 little packages, all for you today, Allie, because you're just so loved. Thanks for your call, and everyone else's call. It was a great show today. I love you all. Namaste.
We have Dr. Wayne Dyer with us. We're talking about balancing our lives together. So would you like to just get started?
Sure, I would, yeah. Last week we talked about the first principle, which was, an infinity of forests lies dormant within the dreams of one acorn. And it was the whole idea is that we're very much out of balance between our dreams, what it is that we would like to attract into our lives, and our habits, what we offer up to that. Usually they're way out of balance. And this principle here, I call it in the book, there's 9 principles in this book. I call this when you can't kiss your own ear. And people ask me, what does that mean? I said, well, in order to get your ear kissed, somebody else obviously has to do it. Otherwise, your ear is going to go through a whole lifetime without being kissed. It has to come from outside of you, from someplace else. And this is really finding a way to balance within yourself and within your life how you see yourself with what you really are projecting to the world. The big danger in this is that people have a tendency to think that you're just looking for approval. You're making other people's opinions of you the most important thing in the world. And I've taught so much in so many places, from erroneous zones right up until now, over 30 years, that you don't want to be running your life based upon what other people think of you. And the important distinction here is the difference between wanting approval and wanting to have other people's opinions and getting feedback that can be valuable to you, and needing the approval of others, which means that I collapse or I become immobilized if I don't receive, good and favorable things from other people. So I just dismiss all of that, push all of that out, and it's not about either one of these. This is really about what are you projecting out there into the world. And very often we're way, way out of balance. We have a tendency to say to other people, well, some sense, what kind of a person are you? You'd say, well, I'm a loving human being. But you're not a loving human being if you are behaving in non-loving ways towards a lot of people out there, particularly people that are there to serve you and so on. I mean, you're not a kind person, for example, if you're kind to your family and nice to your parents and things like that, but you're out there yelling at the waiter and screaming at people when they're in traffic and honking the horns at little old ladies who are terrified and are driving too slow in front of you and so on. So you may have a vision of yourself as being this kind, wonderful person, but what you're projecting out there in many, many places is someone who is not kind, who is not very loving. You may think of yourself, for example, as a joyful person, but you may be hearing people telling you a lot, lighten up, stop taking life so seriously. You're always so upset. You lose your temper so quickly and so on. And you may be going around internally with a vision of yourself as this perfectly calm person when, in fact, other people are constantly telling you that you're full of stress and that you're causing anxiety and you're hard to be around and so on. So the idea behind this one is to take a look at what it is that you are out there projecting into the world, and then to seek out that feedback and to use it in a helpful way. I can give you 2 examples of this in my own life. They're life-changing things. there was a time when we had 5 children in 8 years, and we had 3 in about 3.5 years. And so our house was, obviously there was a lot of chaos, there were a lot of babies. Every time I would come home from my writing, I'd have to stop at the drugstore, and I'd have to pick up 3 different kinds of diapers. I'd have to pick up large, extra large, and small, or whatever it was, and I just knew, I remember I'd get purple, I'd get red, I'd get blue, and, that was how I handled all of that. So while I would be bringing these diapers home and all of the house was in chaos, so we decided at that time to go out and get ourselves someone to help in the house, to cook for us. So we had a cook there. And this guy, his name was Mark, and he would come in there, and he was a chef, and he would have and I started eating these meals that he was making. They were the house smelled with butter and garlic and all of this kind of stuff, and I started eating a lot of that food. And one day, after about a month of doing this, every day coming home and having this wonderful treat of having somebody cook for me, he looked at me and he said, "You're getting a little fat there, don't you think?" And no one had ever said that to me before. And I had actually in the process put on 10 or 15 pounds over a period of a month just from eating these kinds of food and not exercising as much as I should or so on. And I remember his feedback coming to me, and I thought to myself, now who does this guy think he is? He works for me, and he's no right to tell me that. And I remember the next day I decided to really start watching what I eat. I started eating less of it. I started being more conscious about it and so on. And it was like it was the last time that anyone has ever said that to me, because it was a turning point in my life. It was another person's opinion being willing to say something to me. That was one. The other was when I was teaching at the university in Detroit, at Wayne State University, right after I got my doctorate. It was 1971. I was 31 years old. I had my very first class. And one of the things that everybody in the class had to do was make a presentation to the class in these various groups. And this group got up there and they started doing this presentation, and I noticed that there were a lot of snickers going on around in the room and so on. And then people would look at me, and then they'd look at them, and they would laugh, and they didn't know whether to laugh or not. They looked embarrassed. And all of a sudden it hit me that they were doing an impression of me. They were impersonating me. And what they were showing was a person who was a little bit dogmatic, who was fairly loud, who had this little gut, sticking out over his stomach, and they were, doing all of this stuff in a good-natured kind of way. And I remembered how it impacted me. It was like, if I come across that way so that they can emulate me, and I was a little bit too loud perhaps, and a little bit too dogmatic and so on, that it was really a life-changing kind of thing for me. So other people's opinions and what you're projecting to the world, you want to be able to be in balance in the sense that how you would like to project yourself to the world is, in fact, what the world is thinking about what you are projecting. And if it's not, if you call yourself kind but you're nasty to the waiter, if you call yourself stress-free and yet you're jumping up and down at other people, if you're losing your temper quickly and think of yourself as a calm, in-charge person, and you're getting that kind of feedback and information out there, it's good to get yourself back into balance and to be projecting exactly what it is that you would like other people to see you as.
Making your feelings about yourself match what other people are perceiving about you.
Well, yeah, and not even so much always matching, but at least not fooling yourself and to telling yourself that you're one kind of a person or that you behave in a certain kind of way when, in fact, the opposite. This is another thing, is even about if you ask most people, are you a truthful person, for example, most people would say, why, of course I'm truthful, but then you find themselves, skirting the truth in a lot of ways. You project yourself as something that you don't really want to be projecting yourself as, and in fact, the fact is that it isn't so much how other people are seeing you, is that you're not seeing yourself in an authentic way.
I see. Well, Dr. Dyer, what do you say we go right to our caller, Lisa in St. George, Utah. Lisa, welcome to our program.
Hi, Lisa.
You're live on air, Lisa.
Oh, great.
Hey.
Oh, I'm so excited to be on the phone.
Thank you. Me too.
Have you ever been to St. George, Utah?
I have never been to St. I don't know. Maybe where is St. George?
It's like 45 minutes from Zion National Park.
Oh, because I thought St. George was in the White House, but I mean, I think that's the way he thinks anyway. Sorry about that. I couldn't resist.
Beautiful. It's beautiful here. And,
I know it is.
If you ever get a chance to come, you should. It's red rock and gorgeous.
It is beautiful. I've spent a lot of time in Utah. I've spoken at 2 universities there. It's a beautiful state.
Well, I want you to know I've been following just recently all the books you've written. This last summer in June, I had a life-changing experience, kind of what you talked about in one of your books about forgiveness in my own life. And right after that happened, I found your book, 10 Steps to Inner Peace and Success. and read it. And then after that, Power of Intention, read that. After that, Inspiration, The Ultimate Calling. Then I got Getting in the Gap, and I just finished Being in Balance.
What did you think? Because that was a book that just sort of channeled itself through me. I was really, really deeply touched as it wrote itself through me.
Being in Balance?
Yes.
I loved it. Everything, I will tell you, since I started doing these, reading your books, and with each book, I've kept 3x5 cards with me that I've written your affirmations on.
Right.
And some just little things in the books that just got my attention. And I probably look at those every day.
I
have a whole stack of them.
I do the very same thing. I don't just do it necessarily with my work, but I do it. I start out every single day. There's a book out there about the Tao. I'm writing a book on the Tao right now.
Wait till you finish that one.
Yeah, I know. I'm on number 71 right now. In fact, number 71 is something I was talking about with my daughter this morning, who's been really struggling with some addictions and so on. And it says that you'll never get well until you get sick of being sick.
Yeah,
and it says great sages know that, and they never get sick because they're sick of being sick. And I've been thinking and contemplating that whole concept. And even what you said about forgiveness, it's like you get sick of being angry, don't you? You just
I ended up taking everything that happened to me in my life that I felt like, oh, this happened to me, and made it like, oh, I got to experience that.
Yes, you created it.
Yes, I created it, and look at where I am now.
And who did you have to forgive? What did you do?
Everyone. When I was a small child, I grew up in Los Angeles, California, born and raised.
Uh-huh.
Both my parents have their PhD, and they're very, they worked.
Uh-huh.
But we were raised Mormon. Well, my mom was very trusting, and so I was taken to a babysitter's house that, needless to say, I was taken advantage of.
Right. As a young girl?
Yes, 4, 5, 6. And so we moved from that house, and being raised, of course, in a religious home where you just don't talk about those things. None of those things come up. It was just, I always carried this with me, like this shame and this guilt, and it was like my fault or nobody protected me.
Mm-hmm.
And I attracted that throughout my whole...
You attracted more of the shame, more of the things that you put your attention on because you get what you think about,
right.
whether you want it or not.
And again, I had this experience of forgiveness before I even read your books this summer, but I was ready. I guess it was just, I was ready.
Well, let me just break in a minute. Did you see what happened in Lancaster, Pennsylvania with the Amish people?
Yes.
And where that man lined up the girls and shot 5 of them and so on? And somehow, yes. When we looked at these people and they said, we practice living as Christians. This is our whole philosophy. If we can't forgive the people who harm us, then all of the things that we talk about and all the things that we live are not authentic.
Right.
And they somehow got it right, didn't they? They somehow got these peaceful, loving people that got it right.
They did. And that's what has, literally transformed the last 4 months of my life was that forgiveness.
It is. It did. It totally, completely changed my life. Anybody out there listening?
And not only that, but then I married someone that was a sex addict.
Uh-huh.
And so I got more. It was like I know I did that to get past and to forgive again. It's like all of these things have taught me, and I love this man.
Uh-huh.
Even to this day, we have 4 beautiful kids together. We're best friends now.
Uh-huh.
But
so it's really an act of the heart, isn't it? It's not really necessarily that you have to go send him flowers or anything. It's an act of the heart. And once you create
loving. I don't love everything he does.
Right.
But I love him, the spirit.
You probably don't love everything you do either, but you still have to love yourself.
But and ever since, let me go on, so I got Getting in the Gap, and I do that, and that meditation is just what I needed. When I first started, I was going, this is really hard. Anything. I'm a dancer. I do a lot of creative things, and always at first it's difficult, and I want to really say that to everyone listening, because if you just keep doing it, now I go out and I do it on my own without listening to your voice.
Yeah, that's the meditation you're speaking about. It's a CD in the back of Getting in the Gap, or it's called,
I love it.
It was taught to me by a great teacher who learned it from the people who wrote it back 2,500 years ago back in India.
And all of these things you say resonate, have made sense to me all along. Like when I was a little girl, I remember waking up at night, seeing energy in my room really quickly moving, and being afraid. Just everything, even though I was raised in a home that really was, you can't think that way. No, we're not allowed to see We're not allowed to have any spiritual guidance other than the prophet. You know, none of those things were, it never felt true to me. But everything you've said feels true to me. And I will tell you that since I started doing those manifestations, getting in the gap, anything I've wanted to do has come up.
That's so wonderful. That's such a confirming. It's a great.
I like I said, I teach dance. I'm an instructor. I've been wanting to go. You know, just everything I love to do, I get to do. I wanted to go to Jamaica.
Lisa, we're going to have to interrupt you right now.
Well, thank you so much for your call, Lisa. God bless you. What a great
Wonderful
call. I really appreciate your confirmation.
Well, Dr. Dyer, I think we have many calls to attend to, so let us get on with Rose in Lexington, Kentucky. Rose, welcome to our program today.
Hello. Thank you so much for taking the call.
Hi, Rose. How are you?
I'm just great. Your discussion just a few minutes ago just made me call because I'm an instructor. I teach horseback riding lessons, and I had an insight where I was taking a new adult around to view the lessons to decide whether or not he wanted to come and ride with us.
Right.
And at the end of the lesson, I went ahead and it was introducing them to the different students, and he expressed his concern about whether or not he wanted sufficient feedback to improve his skills, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And the student that was there said, "Oh yeah, she'll give you lots of feedback." And I'm like, "Whoa!" Now she said it in a laughing, fun way, but there was some insight, and I'm saying like, well, I would never think of myself in that way. I mean,
right. She was saying that you maybe come across a little pushy or
too strong,
a little too strong or too excessive or whatever.
So now that insight is very important because, of course, I'm in a place where I want to improve and grow my business, and also I want to make life. My whole concept of riding is that horses give us life lessons. It's not teaching riding.
My daughter Summer is a horse instructor. I mean, this has been her life, and I know that. And it's very interesting what you're speaking about there, though, because there's really this fine line between not wanting to run your life based upon what other people think of you. Certainly, there's a wonderful book title called "What You Think of Me Is None of My Business." So that you don't want to go around just saying, and then you become a people pleaser, and you're trying to you're trying to please this audience and that audience. It's one of the problems that we have with the authenticity of politicians. Because before one group they'll say one thing, and before another group they say something else. They go to another part of the country, they say something else. Always trying to be out there pleasing everyone else. So there's that extreme. But then there's the other extreme of people who go through life and behave in certain ways, and they think they're one thing, and they're coming across a very different way. And you want to have that feedback. I think the real crucial thing in all of this is to be is to not let yourself become immobilized, regardless. Like if you got some very harsh criticism, and it's funny, was that a young child that said that to you?
No, it was another adult.
It was another adult.
Yeah, and she said it in a nice way. I mean,
but there was also a hidden message in there to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that at whatever it is that you are receiving in the way of feedback, you don't become immobilized by it. You just take it, you note it, and you say, you know what, if that's the way I am, I want to be a little bit more cautious. If you're a person who needs to be in front of an audience, actors and actresses often come to me and talk about, it's easy for you to say to be independent of the opinion of others, but my whole livelihood depends upon whether the people out there, like what I'm doing. And if they don't, I need to know that. And I think that keeping that perspective is what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
thank you.
Tell you.
I appreciate that. It's really nice. Yeah.
On the activity side, I do feel that it is insightful. And so the action step I'm going to take is to go get your book In Balance and read through it and pick up those pieces that maybe are not in balance.
No, that's great.
And take, put it in perspective. But I sure do thank you for your help, and I'm going to be looking forward to your coming to our neck of the woods.
I'll get out there, Lexington, Kentucky. It's isn't that right across from Cincinnati? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been at your airport many times.
We go to Cincinnati often for the different Hay House speakers.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, God bless you. Thank you for your wonderful call. I appreciate it. Namaste.
Thanks a lot, Rose, for your call. All right, Dr. Dyer, we're going to go now to Clayton in Orlando, Florida. I wonder if he's going to be at the conference at the end of the month. Clayton, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you so much. Hi, Dr. Dyer.
Hi, Clayton. How are you, my friend?
I am great. Well, finally in Orlando with the weather subsiding now, it's actually enjoyable down here.
It's beautiful there, from what everyone tells me right now.
Instead of the swamp-like conditions that we usually endure. Yeah.
Yes. Enjoy the swamps. Enjoy them.
I know, it's exciting, and the smell is just wonderful. I'm sure you experienced that smell.
I have.
My question for you is, I read hundreds of spiritual texts over my life and came to Bikram yoga at an early part in my life, and I work in television, and I co-host a nationally syndicated television show across the country on the morning, and the space that I'm at now, it's a place that's really filled with negativity, and it becomes like a fishbowl environment where I sort of tie my self-esteem to that place.
Right.
And whether or not I'm good enough, or whether or not I've succeeded in such a way, and whether or not I can get to that next spot. And they've begun to basically explain that I am not going to be part of their program anymore, and that I'm going to move to a different spot, or I'm going to stay there while they bring these other people in to sort of try out for this particular job and this. And yet, I've tied my self-esteem to this place for so long, and I want to take it to the next level where I become a network anchor and move to the next level and move to a higher level, but I still have that self-doubt, that one little nugget of self-doubt, and I wanted to get your perspective on, with all of the affirmations and with all the meditations and all of the understanding that, this network job is on its way, and I know it's coming.
Right.
But then it sneaks in that back door. And I think, for whatever reason, I think that's what everyone always worried about, that one little nugget.
Well, the network job and how it plays out, and whether it shows up there or in Lexington, Kentucky, where the lady just talked to you, or whatever it might be, is outside of your control. And it's because those are just the details, and the details of how things work are not really in our hands. First of all, I would suggest that you be in a total, complete state of gratitude for all of this kind of stuff, this feedback that's coming at you, that you may or may not be included, which is bringing all of this doubt to the surface, so that you can deal with this stuff and then just put it to bed completely. In other words, you want to create for yourself an inner environment that is so filled with peace. I was introducing Louise Hay at her 80th birthday party. I was giving a tribute to her at her party last weekend, and I quoted Herman Melville, and he said, he was writing Moby Dick. He said, "For as this appalling ocean surrounds the verdant land, so in the soul of man lies one insular Tahiti, full of peace and joy, but encompassed by all of the horrors of the half-lived life." And I quoted that and said that Louise Hay was one of the people who brought an insular Tahiti to all of us with her monumental works and creating her publishing house and so on, which I'm so proud to be a part of. And I'd like you to know that you have to be able to go, Clayton, to that inner place within yourself, to that insular Tahiti that is filled with peace and joy, totally knowing that this is it's absolutely perfect for you, projecting yourself out there in this loving and peaceful a way, being independent of the opinions of everybody else out there who thinks you should or shouldn't be doing it in a certain way, being totally, completely at peace. You do yoga, I would recommend that you read the Tao a little bit each day, read the Tao Te Ching, find out how important it is to be a non-interferer, to be totally at peace, to get more by doing less, to be free from trying to control things outside of yourself that are all unfolding perfectly, just to be in that peaceful place, and then to be grateful for everything that comes along, whether it's a network job or whatever it is, because if you have that inner peace, that insular Tahiti, that place of joy within your heart, it won't make any difference to you whether you're on a network or whether you're not, because the network thing is really about ego. It's just about more people watching you and all of that. And if you can just free yourself from that external kind of thing and just allow yourself to be the greatness that you came here to be, it'll all unfold perfectly. That's my advice. I don't know if it helps or not.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Clayton. God bless you.
All right, we've got Melina, and this is an update call. And sometimes I like to check back, give a caller a couple minutes, because I like to get updated on what the advice is you've given and how it's playing out in their lives. So, Melina from Sherman Oaks, California, can you give us a brief update of how things are going for you?
Sure. Hi, Wayne.
Hi, Melina.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Okay, I asked you a question at the Pasadena event with Byron Katie about, advice on how to show my son that the violent video games he likes, what to do. So you told me to go ahead and do the muscle testing.
Yeah, do the yes.
Right. So I came home that night.
Just for everyone's edification out there, it's, that energy is in everything, and if you're doing something, if you're watching something violent, or if you're listening to violent music or whatever, and you muscle test it, that is, you hold that in your hand and test yourself, that it will actually show you whether you're strengthened or weakened by it, and violence almost always shows it weakens us. Go ahead, what happened?
Okay, I came home that evening. I told my children, I talked about you to Dr. Dyer, and I told my son, what I had talked about. So he said, okay, let's do it. He looks around, and I just shown them Unstoppable Me, your new children's book that I brought home for them. He said, let's use this as the positive thing, and we tested one of his video games, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they each did it, and we did it back and forth time and time again with Unstoppable Me held up against their heart. They were strong. I wasn't able to push their arm down. With the violent video games, they went weak. So I didn't know how he would process that or if he would care or whatever, but within, seconds, he said, all right, okay, I'm going to get my video games together. He took out all his video games. He went through which ones were violent, which ones were not. He sorted them into 2 piles and said, okay, these are going to go. My 10-year-old son, and I was so proud of him. I really didn't know if he would. There's one game, though, the Star Wars game, that he didn't want to give up yet, so he's still holding on to that. And he actually was trying to tell my 6-year-old daughter, she had kind of grown attached to this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He said, Jasmine, it's weakening us, and it's time to let it go.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. I love this call. Thank you, Summer, for taking this call.
Sure.
That's so phenomenal. It's like, and people don't understand, because I was telling the story of how my son was listening to a CD that had violence and profanity in it, and I had him bring it over, and I told him to hold bananas, these organic bananas, next to his heart, and he would hold his arm out, and the muscle test. You can read about all of this in a book called Power versus Force. You can get it through Hay House, by the way. It explains how to do all of that.
By Dr. David Hawkins. David
Hawkins, right. So I would bring him over. My Strongs, he was 16 or 17 at the time, big, strong, strapping, 6'1" kid. And when I put the bananas on there, I couldn't budge his arm. But then when he held the CD in his hand, just the actual CD in his hand, he went weak. His arm went right down. And a lot of people find that difficult to grasp. But energy is in everything, and kinesiology teaches us how to go about doing that. But to have your 10-year-old son have that kind of an impact and insight, so you could have lectured at him 1,000 times, Melina, and it never would have reached him. But for him to experience that, yeah.
Right. It was beautiful, and I just,
Oh, thank you for that update. That is so, so wonderful. It's a good lesson for everybody out there. Anything, and it's, again, a part of, when I talk about in being in balance, and that third, you can't kiss your own ear. One of the things I talk about is that if you think of yourself as a loving person, but you are constantly immersing yourself in violent movies and chase scenes and things that have guns and lots of killing and so on, that's the opposite of love. And it's like you really want to take a look at whether or not you are using this as an excuse for having things come into your heart and into your life that are not loving at all. So you may not be nearly as loving as you think you are. Right. Even when you read the newspaper, like this morning, I saw a headline in the paper that talked about the Americans had killed 30 what they called insurgents along with the Iraqis, and I thought, oh my goodness, 30 dead people, all of whom are just believing in what they believe in. It's like you can't be a loving person, and in the Tao it says that all battles, no matter whether you are on the right side or the wrong side, all of them should be treated as a funeral. That there's nothing to celebrate when people end up doing something violent to each other. Thank you, darling, for that wonderful call. I really love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. God
Thanks
bless
so much, Melina. That was wonderful. So many times parents do call in wanting to know advice for kids. That was a great one, I think. Everyone can apply that.
I tell people all the time, if you've got kids who are doing video games, just do that with them. Do the muscle testing with them and let them see for their own eyes. And boy, what a perfect example of that. I'm glad we have that on the radio show. People can listen to it.
All right. We've got time for one more caller. We've got Dana from Bronx, New York. Dana, welcome to our program today.
Hi, Dr. Dyer. Good evening. How are you?
Hi, Dana. How are things in the Bronx? Are you at the zoo?
Not too far from the zoo. I'm actually more closer to Manhattan, actually, but weather is fine here in the Big Apple, and all is well.
Good.
I know you're wrapping up on the show, so I'll make this brief. For most of my adult life, I've been working in the corporate sector, corporate environment, but I really want to transition into my own home business. But I'm scared to death, knowing that I may have to sacrifice a salary, at least if I go into my own business, and benefits And I really want to make the transition, but there's something really preventing me from moving forward, aside from this fear. And I was wondering if there are any words of wisdom you can share with me about...
What is the business you want to start in your own home?
It's like more of a holistic practice in which I do some massage therapy.
Yeah, see, I just sensed it in you. What is your first name?
Dana.
Dana, I sensed that the minute that you started talking, I said, this is the person who has love to give away. There's something in your voice, there's an aura in you. I'm not psychic, I don't do readings like Sylvia and all that, but I felt very deeply and profoundly that you have an enormous amount of just loving kindness to give away, even the way you just talked about the Bronx and where you are and so on. That should be enough information for you to have to know that you're on the right path and that it will work, and that the biggest fear that you have is that you won't have the salary, but look beyond that and ask yourself, what is it that I'm really afraid? Am I afraid I'm not going to be able to feed myself or to pay my rent? And then take a look at, how old are you?
I'll be 39 next week.
So in 39 years, have you ever had any time in your adult life when you haven't been able to feed yourself or take care of and be responsible for yourself? And the answer to that, I'm already sure, is that you've always been able to handle it. So there's no reason for you to look back with anything other than total confidence that you'll be able to continue doing that, whether or not a salary is coming or whether it's coming from your own business. But you have great love to give away. That's what you have to give away.
Goodness. And I thank you for that, Dr. Dyer. In actuality, okay, well, I'll definitely...
Where are you from? Where are you originally from?
New York City.
From New York City.
New York City, born and raised.
You have there's something in you that do you feel that as well? Do you feel what I'm describing here? Do you feel like there's something that's inside of you that has to escape, wants to serve, but you're holding it back?
For ages. Yeah. For ages, especially over the past 2 years. In a sense, wanting this to grow, wanting my abilities to grow, to shed some light on it, to accentuate what I have and be able to share that with other people. So, and I can't do it in a stuffy corporate environment. I gotta go out.
You'd be surprised. I know. I was driving down the Long Island Expressway. You've probably been on it. I was living out in Huntington, New York, and I was teaching at St. John's University.
Oh.
And I had a position. I was the star there. It was 1971, and right up till 1975, I got promoted. I had tenure, which is like a guaranteed job for the rest of my life, a guaranteed paycheck for the rest of my life. And something happened to me on the Long Island Expressway, and I drove in, and I went into the dean's office. Her name was Sarah Fassenmeyer. And I told her I had to resign. I was writing Your Erroneous Zones, and that I was going to go out and I was going to be on my own. I was going to have to earn my own paycheck. I was going to have to figure out how to get my health care insurance covered and do all of that. And I was scared, but you know what? I made more money in the first year than I had made the previous 30 years of my life.
That gives me something to go by. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dana, for your call. Gotta let you go.
To watch another amazing Wayne Dyer radio show, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Dr. Dyer, welcome.
Thank you, Summer.
Yeah.
Nice to be with you. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well.
Good.
It's shaping up into a nice week already.
Good.
Isn't it nice when Mondays start out like that?